Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and March Madness has just begun. The NCAA tournament is here, and we've got the first four live reaction games between Pittsburgh and Mississippi State. It should be tons of fun, and I'm looking forward to reacting to this game, and I'm sure you guys will be as well. This should be a fantastic game. And I mean, you've got two teams that barely squeaked into the tournament, and they want to advance, they want to move on to the next round of the tournament. It should be a lot of fun. And there's already been a lot of action tonight. You had Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They beat Southeast Missouri State 75-71. That was a big win. And you've had some NIT action as well. You've had Rutgers losing to Hofstra in overtime, which was crazy. And Michigan beat Toledo. So there's been definitely some, crazy games going on, tonight. And definitely, just the beginning of March Madness in general just brings a lot of fun. And, these early round games for sure, these teams are doing everything they possibly can to advance and continue their journey in March Madness. And it's going to be definitely crazy, to see what happens tonight in this game between Pittsburgh and Mississippi State. It's coming up in a few minutes on True TV. And, I mean, for sure, this should be a close game. Both these teams, had some ups and downs this season. Pittsburgh, they were a team that actually was really playing well early on in the season, but they had some struggles in ACC play, but they were able to find a way to squeak into the tournament. And Mississippi State, they were a team that had a really good non-conference, and then when the SEC started, they were like 3-7 in conference play, which was not very good, but then they turned it around toward the end of the season and started getting some wins, but they found a way to get into the tournament. It also helped that the bubble was kind of weak this year. A lot of teams had a lot of losses, especially in conferences like the Big 12, where the teams beat up on each other, and the Big 10. So I think that helped teams like Pittsburgh and Mississippi State find their way in the tournament. But I definitely think that since both these teams are here, they're going to give it everything they got in Dayton, Ohio in the first four game to find a way to move on to the round of 64, because even though technically you're in the tournament, you definitely want to be a part of the round of 64, because that's a really big deal for sure. Thanks for being here, Jeff. He says, should be a good one. Howdy, sir. Glad you're here. Definitely cannot wait for this game for sure. It was a very, high-level game between Texas A&M Corpus Christi and Southeast Missouri State, even though those are really small conference teams, which is why they got the 16 seeds, and they did not get to be in the round of 64 to begin with. Both teams played really hard, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi, they shot a lot of free throws. They got to the foul line. They were driving in, and Southeast Missouri State had a chance to tie the game at the end, but they definitely just, fell a little short, could not get it done. But overall, it was a really high-level game for two teams of that caliber. But this game, I mean, you've got, the ACC going up against the SEC. It should be a high-level game. Tolu Smith is a really good player for Mississippi State. He's a big forward. And also for Pittsburgh, you've got Jamarius Burton, who used to play for Wichita State, and he was a really good player. But I think you look at both these teams overall on paper, they're both really physical teams, really good at defense. Sometimes the offense for both teams can struggle, so it might be a lower scoring game, but you never know, since it's in March Madness. They might be giving everything they got to win, so it could, start to rack up some points. But overall, this is, a game that's probably going to be more on the lower scoring variety, because of the fact you have two teams that are really physical and they play really well on defense. So it should be a good game for sure. And even though we have these tournament games going on, the NIT, is still raging on as we speak. And the NIT, has provided some really good action throughout the years, even though it's not the tournament that it once was, where you have Madison Square Garden, as a prize in the, final semifinals and finals round or whatever. You used to have the Madison Square Garden, and that was really cool, but you don't have it anymore. But still, the NIT is a really good consolation prize. Some teams opted out. North Carolina was the big one. They opted out of the NIT. Part of it makes sense. I made a video talking about it, why North Carolina, declined the NIT, and should they have declined the NIT. You always want to play, when you're able to in a tournament, and the NIT gives teams, the chance to be able to play, in a tournament that's not the NCAA tournament, even if it's not as big of a tournament as it used to be. But still, it's a big deal. Texas Tech declined, which kind of makes sense for everything they got going on there. And you had Dayton decline as well, which is kind of shocking, especially because Dayton played the NIT last year, but they declined it. But overall, a lot of teams are happy to be there. And again, there's already been some crazy action in the NIT, having Michigan beat Toledo, and Rutgers, who a lot of people felt should have made the NCAA tournament, actually thought maybe they had a good enough resume to make the tournament as well. But they lost, to Hofstra in overtime, and that was a huge loss. So overall, not a really good look for them if they wanted to, prove that they should have been a team that was worthy of the NCAA tournament, but they fell short against Hofstra in overtime. And now they're showing on True TV right now the highlights of Liberty Villanova. Villanova is a team that probably would have made the NCAA tournament if they were healthy all season, but they just were banged up, and they had a lot of injuries early on, in the season. And they got healthy toward the end of the season. Justin Moore came back off of his injury, his ACL tear from last March Madness. And you also had Cam Whitmore, had a thumb injury, but he came back after like 8 games. But they started to get things going late in the season, but unfortunately it was just too late. They already had so many losses, but definitely showing that for Jay Wright. Jay Wright, the legendary Villanova head coach. He's had a fantastic career, and now he's on CBS, which True TV. Obviously, he's going to be on there for March Madness, and they're showing his former team that he had coached for so long. Did a great job, so that's awesome. But still, Villanova playing in the NIT, it's awesome to see they were able to at least make some form of a tournament. But for this game right here, you've got Pittsburgh and Mississippi State. They made the big tournament, but unfortunately, they fell just a little short, and being able to already be in the 64-team field. They're having to play this game just to get in, but it's still a big deal. They're in the tournament, even if this isn't the round of 64. They're in the tournament, and whoever wins definitely will be very happy to be able to move on. But whoever loses, unfortunately, you're going to be out of March Madness already, but at least you were able to say that you made the tournament for sure. Definitely looking forward to this game. Should be a lot of high-flying action. The first 4, actually has had a history of teams going far as well. UCLA in 2021 went to the Final Four, and VCU, back when the first 4 was initiated, when they expanded to 68 teams, they were a big surprise in 2011 going to the Final Four with Shaka Smart, and that actually built up, his, Montra's a really great coach. And then, after that, he went to Texas. Obviously, now he's at Marquette doing great things there, and Marquette's a really great team. But you sometimes have these shocker teams that are really low like this in the first 4 that can really advance. They definitely have potential. So I wonder, the winner of this game, whether it's Pittsburgh or Mississippi State, if they're able to advance in the NCAA tournament. You never know. But you definitely don't want to get ahead of yourself. You got to win this game first if you want to advance, but you never know. A Cinderella story sometimes isn't just about the teams at the bottom like a Texas A&M Corpus Christi or an Oral Roberts. Sometimes teams like this that are lower than expected, like a Syracuse when they were an 11th seed and they went all the way to the Final Four. South Carolina, they were a really low seed and they went all the way to the Final Four. Sometimes they can just be as much of a Cinderella as a really small school as well. So that's why they call it March Madness for sure. It is definitely madness. You never know what's going to happen in March. All these teams are definitely going to be fighting, and they're hungry, and they want to win, and they want to advance. You never know which team's going to advance. That's why there's, always upsets, crazy storylines. You just never know. So it should be awesome. I mean, it all kicks off here. This is going to be a big game for both these teams. Pittsburgh has not been in the NCAA tournament since 2016. It's been a while. Mississippi State hasn't been since 2019. So it's been a while, that both these teams have been in the tournament. So they definitely are going to want to get a win. You've got Inside the Pines. Thanks for being here, man. He says, hey, bro, this should be a great one, buddy. I completely agree. This game should be, a very physical, defensive-minded game. But I do think that there will be some offense, maybe some breakdowns early, but it could be some jitters as well. So it might take a while for the scoring to get going, but it should be a great game. Jeff says the Tar Heels were not smart not to play. I mean, I agree with that. They should have played. I mean, there were a lot of circumstances at play why they didn't play because of the fact, you had, the fact that you were kind of humiliated overall that you missed the term when you're the preseason number 1, which I can understand. But I do think that they should have played because it could have built up momentum overall for you to potentially, move forward to next season, maybe play some of the younger players and be able to build some momentum in the NIT, find a way to get your rotations right. I think that North Carolina could have benefited from the NIT to be able to finally play the style of offense that Hubert Davis wanted them to play instead of it being just me ball, especially with Caleb Love chunking up a lot of bad shots. I think they needed to play more team basketball, and the NIT could have given, them a chance to actually do that, especially with younger players, but they definitely, did not choose to play. It's very unfortunate. But I do think overall that North Carolina in general is just going to have to find a way next year to definitely play a different brand of basketball. And since they're not playing the NI transfer portal and bring in some players, maybe they can start getting, looking forward to next season to be able to bring in, the right players that are going to be able to play at a high level earlier on, and then be able to have them practice and get ready for next season and get a jump on it earlier than these other teams that are having to play in the NIT or the NCAA tournament. So maybe the Tar Heels made the right decision, but still, I definitely would have rather have seen them in the NIT for sure. I think that still would have benefited them. And inside the pylons, he asked who you got in this one. That's a great question. This is, one of those games where you look at, these two teams and the way that their style of play is, that they're very physical, and they play, a very, difficult style of basketball. They're not a tough team to beat, especially if you're not playing, with enough physicality to win. They can sometimes, hit you in the mouth and you're not really sure, how to be able to stop it because of the fact they're just so defensive minded and they can get after you and they make it tough for you to score. So I think that it's going to be a really, defensive minded game, a low scoring game. Both teams are going to be playing really, really hard in this one. But I do think that Pittsburgh, maybe might have a little bit more offense. I think Mississippi State might have a little bit more defense in this one. But I do think potentially Pittsburgh might have a little bit of an advantage. But I think this game really could go either way. For sure, you're definitely going to see, early on who's the team that has the jump on the other for sure, because sometimes you could, come into this, thinking that you maybe have an advantage over the other team, but you just start out really slow and you're really struggling overall and you can't, get any shots to fall. Kind of like UCLA, Arizona. As Jeff says, I think it's a toss-up, but you look at Arizona, UCLA, that game in the Pac-12 championship, UCLA missed some easy shots early that if they hit those shots, then UCLA might have enough points to beat Arizona. But you look at this game right here, like whoever's knocking down their layups, who's ever hitting the easy buckets early on, I think is going to make a difference. And if Mississippi State, is missing layups and Pittsburgh's knocking theirs down, it can lean their way and vice versa for either team. So it's just whoever settles into this game first, I think is going to have a really big advantage. And both these teams don't have the experience of being in March Madness recently, which I don't think really helps either team because of the fact you don't have like one team that hasn't played in the tournament in years and the other, has been in the NCAA tournament last year. Neither team's been in the tournament for a while. So I think overall that might hurt both these teams because of the fact they, are going to want to be playing, without, the anxiety of not having been there. But unfortunately, the anxiety is going to be there unless somehow one of these teams just comes out and plays at a high level. But both these teams, are going to really struggle probably early because they're not used to being here. I do think there will be some sluggish basketball to start. But again, like you said, I mean, maybe lean Pitt, but this game really could go either way. I think this is going to be a toss-up game, and it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, it's a really close game. Inside the pylons, he says, I went with Texas A&M Corpus Christi in the early game, and I'm going with Pitt in this one. It will be good early. We should see who will win once one team creates separation. Completely agree. That was definitely the point that I was, going after there. It's just whoever gets a jump on it first, whoever can find a way to pull away maybe. But you never know. Maybe there won't be much separation, and both teams are just, banging around, going after it, and it's a, low-scoring affair most of the way. But I agree with you on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I mean, they had the advantage, though, of having played in the tournament last year in the first four, and they lost their game last year. This time around, they had another year of experience. They played in it last year, and they got the win, whereas Southeast Missouri State had not played in the NCAA tournament last year in the first four. So I think overall, again, maybe, the fact that you look at a team like Texas A&M Corpus Christi that had played in the tournament last year, I think that, it kind of helped them out. It kind of benefited them. But in this game, neither team really has that experience. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Both teams are warming up right now. Obviously, the first game has ended, and they're about to be getting ready to start this next game. But it definitely, a little bit later than the 9-10 tip. But we're definitely going to be waiting for it. Looking forward to, this game for sure. Should be a high-level game. Jeff says he agrees with Inside the Pylons on his predictions for sure. I mean, it could be, one of those games where you're surprised by the offense. I even though I think this is going to be a lower scoring game, a very physical game, you never know. It could be one of those things where both teams just surprise you and start playing really good at offense. But it will be interesting to see for sure. Inside the pylon says off the ball movement and penetrating the paint to open three ball will be key. It'll be interesting to see how many passes we see before shots early on. I definitely agree with that. And sometimes, like you saw early on in the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Southeast Missouri State game, there were passing the ball early, especially Southeast Missouri State, but they kept turning the ball over. And that has to do with, overall the fact that you're nervous and you're trying to make the extra pass. You're trying to make the right read, but sometimes you throw the ball and it's off. You make a bad throw, even though it was the right play, but you don't make an accurate pass. So it's also going to be not the fact that you pass the ball, it's how you pass. Are your passes accurate? Are they in the shooting pocket right to the players? Because if your passes, are poor and then the players have to adjust to shoot or it's a turnover, then that could be a problem as well. Jeff says he can't wait for. I completely agree as well. I'm looking forward to this game for sure. And I know a lot of other people are. I mean, it's March Madness. I mean, some people don't even watch basketball until March Madness, which, like I said before in the past, I love watching the regular season as well. It's awesome. You might not have the stakes of if you lose, you're going home. If you win, you advance. But still, the regular season is awesome. But I definitely understand why some people only watch March Madness. I can understand it is one of the best time of year for sports fans, especially of the basketball variety, because I mean, you don't have many sports like basketball, like college basketball, where you have this type of tournament with so many teams and the winner go home. It's just really cool. I mean, the NBA is different, how you have the 7 games. If you lose, you have another, a shot to advance. If you can just win 4 out of the 7 games, so that's different. And then you got football where it's only 12 teams in the NFL. And then in college football, you have the 4-team playoffs and all the bowls. But college basketball is unique. You have so many teams. It's win or go home. And it lasts for, weekends upon weekends. It's just an awesome tournament. People love watching it every year. And I mean, it is one of the, greatest times of year for a sports fan for sure. I love watching March Madness. And I mean, this game is technically kicking off, the big games for sure. I mean, I know that Texas A&M Corpus Christi, that was a really great game. But for a lot of people, this is the game. This is the start of the NCAA tournament. And it should be awesome. Jeff says it's fun and crazy and insane, laughing out loud. All those things and above for sure. And inside the pylons, he said Rutgers went down to Hofstra and NIT. Michigan held on to beat Kent State 980. How far do you think they can go? Well, it all depends on matchups, as well. It depends on Michigan beat Toledo. That's what you make. Because Kent State, they're in the tournament playing Indiana. But Michigan, they beat Toledo. I think that overall, Michigan, it depends on matchups. And it also depends like how far. Sometimes it's just the will to want to go all the way. Because sometimes you watch a team in the NIT and they're kind of just breezing through it, and then they get overlook a team and they lose. So I think that overall it depends on if Michigan wants to go so far and how they're playing, I think they can go far. You said that's right about, oh, you're good, man. Yeah, for sure. I mean, both teams are in Ohio, so it makes sense, both in the MAC. But I do think that Michigan is a good team, but they were inconsistent. So if they're inconsistent in the NIT, they could definitely drop a game. But it's coming up right here. The Pittsburgh Panthers 22-11, the Mississippi State Bulldogs 21-12. Pittsburgh out of the ACC, Mississippi State out of the SEC, and the winner will play Iowa State on Friday on True TV. So it's going to be really interesting. Inside the pylon said, what are your thoughts on people thinking Kent can upset IU? Well, yeah, that's interesting for sure. I mean, Indiana, it's because of the inconsistency, and they're looking at it that if one of Trace Jackson Davis or Jalen Ojefino has a bad game or foul trouble, then Indiana could go down because their other players don't step up enough. But I do think if both play well and they can get contributions from some of their other players, I do think Indiana will be fine. But Kent State, they have a lot of short guards that could make life tough on Indiana's guards if they can get some dribble penetration and Trace Jackson Davis can't block the shot. So it will be interesting. I will say I think Indiana's favored to win. I think they have a really good chance to win, but I do see the upset alert for sure. But, you never know. It is March Madness, so anything's possible for sure. UMBC proved that beating Virginia. Anything's possible. They're showing Pittsburgh's players right now. Jamarius Burton averages 16. Blake Henson averages 16. Both are big reasons why Pittsburgh is in the tournament. Both are great players. Nelly Cummings averages 11. Greg Elliott averages 10 points. Pittsburgh has a good team, and Jeff Capel, he needed this team to be really good because he was on the hot seat. He'd been at Pittsburgh for a few seasons after being the longtime assistant coach at Duke. And Pittsburgh, they were struggling for a long time, but they brought in some players, and they really turned it around. They're having a better year this year. You look at Mississippi State, Tolu Smith, he's a really good center, very good player. And they also have DJ Jeffries, who's solid, Deshaun Davis at guard. So I think both teams, they have talent. They have some good players. That's why they're here in the tournament. But they're both inconsistent, and they both struggle on the offensive end at times. So it will be interesting to see what happens. But the game's about to tip off. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome for sure. It's going to be really interesting to see the pregame, at the beginning of the game jitters. You see them pregame, they do look a little nervous for sure. I mean, it's a big game for sure. You got Jeff Capel. Look at his record, 73 and 80 in 5 seasons. So you definitely tell this is his best year. And Chris Jans, first year as the Mississippi State head coach, 21 and 12. And he was the head coach in New Mexico State last year when they made the NCAA tournament. So Chris Jans, he's done a really good job at Mississippi State. And Jeff Capel, best year for sure at Pittsburgh, and probably has saved his job. It's really good for him. He's definitely showing he can be a capable coach, but he had to get some better players in, and the players are really performing well. Inside the Pylons, he asked, do you like how the more important first 4 games are the nightcappers? They probably do that so more people on the West Coast can watch for sure. Because, the earlier games you can't really watch. But, still, when you get to Thursday and Friday, there's good games on at noon and 2 o'clock. And if people are at work, unfortunately, they really can't watch unless they're keeping up with it while they're working. But that is interesting, but probably for ratings. And the game is tipped. And you got the ball first with Pittsburgh. Or Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got the ball first. 0-0. Mississippi State's moving the ball around the floor. Passes looking crisp early. Pittsburgh's wearing their white and brown, and Pittsburgh's in black and yellow. And Mississippi State knocks in a 3. 3-0. That's a huge shot to get the ball rolling for Mississippi State. Hitting their first shot that's always key in the tournament, to hit your first shot. Now Pittsburgh is already playing from behind. Pittsburgh fakes a 3. And they miss a 2. They get the rebound. And they miss again. And Mississippi State with the rebound. Really good start for the Bulldogs. Mississippi State down low, fighting down 5-0. Mississippi State with a layup. 5-0. That's a bad start for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh already looking a little rattled because of it too. Pittsburgh driving in to the top of the key. And there's a foul and the 3. Pittsburgh hit a 3. Blake Henson. He's been really good for Pittsburgh this year. It's a big 3. It rolls in, toilet bowls around and in, and he got the foul. He could have a 4-point play. Now, sometimes it is the toughest to hit the free throw off of, the 3-point shot, and you get the 4-point play. Sometimes it's tough to knock that down, but what a shot. Blake Henson was all ACC second team. He had a really good season for Jeff Capel. And he does miss the free throw. It's so tough to make the 4-point play. You hit the big shot and you can't hit the free throw. So 5-3 Mississippi State, 18:35 to go in the first. Mississippi State fakes a long 2. Mississippi State's passing really well at the top of the key, and they miss a 3, but they got the rebound, but they call a push-off on the rebound attempt. So Pittsburgh basketball, 5-3 Mississippi State. I really like the ball move for Mississippi State. I got pushed off hard. Tolu Smith, I think that's Tolu Smith. So you don't want him getting in foul trouble for Mississippi State because he's a really good player. Averages 15 points. Jamarius Burton trying to drive in for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh driving in again. They fake a 3. They're driving in, and they miss a 2. Mississippi State rebound. Still 5-3. Mississippi State. The ball's just running around the floor, and they call it off of Mississippi State. So Pittsburgh's getting the basketball back. Jeff says great action so far for sure. It's definitely some, loose balls like we thought, a lot of sloppy play, but the two teams are playing really hard, and that's a good sign. They're both playing really solid on the defensive end. Both are really good defensive teams. But definitely some turnover issues for sure. Pittsburgh with the basketball, trying to get the exchange off from the center. Pittsburgh at the top of the key, driving in, taking a tough two, and he knocks it down. Jamarius Burton, 5-5. Pittsburgh's responded after the slow start. And Mississippi State's bringing the ball down the floor, passing the ball. Mississippi State swinging around with a floater, and they missed the floater. Pittsburgh rebound. So 5-5 Pittsburgh, Mississippi State with 17 to go in the first. Pittsburgh fakes a three, kicking it around. Pittsburgh drives in, turn around, and misses the shot. It went in and out. 5-5 still. Now Mississippi State's bringing it down the floor again. The offense has cooled off. They get it to Tolu Smith on the block. He kicks it out in the corner. They're passing the ball well again. Mississippi State for a wide open three, and he knocks it down. 8-5, Mississippi State. DJ Jeffries, what a big shot. So tough to guard a 6'7" guy who's shooting threes. It's almost impossible. Pittsburgh's moving the ball around. They try to shoot three in the corner, and they knock it down. 8-8. Inside the bounce is cool off, more like dried up, but for sure, now the offense is starting to get going again. It's 8-8, 16 minutes left in the first. Mississippi State with the ball. They're moving it around, and he just shoots a three out there. Man, you got to guard. They sagged off, and they didn't guard him. Jeff says laughing out loud. Pittsburgh left DJ Jeffries left him for a wide open three after he just hit one, and they were on him, and then they just kind of just sagged off and let him shoot it. That's not smart defense. Pittsburgh's a better defensive team than that. Jamarius Burton drives in. What a block by Tolu Smith. Mississippi State with the board. They're driving it down the floor. And they shoot another three, and they knock it down. Pittsburgh is sagging off the shooters. They're letting them shoot wide open shots. I don't understand. Pittsburgh's got to defend harder than that. Really good shooting from Mississippi State, though. They've hit 4 threes already. Blake Henson fakes the shot. He does a floater, and he misses. And they call it off of Mississippi State. So it's Pittsburgh basketball, 14-8. Mississippi State with just under 15 minutes to go in the first half. Definitely some more offense than I was expecting. You've got a lot of offense going on. Both these teams are really good at defense usually, but Pittsburgh is giving up some open shots. I don't know if it's in the scouting report. They think that Pittsburgh's not a good three-point shooting team, but it doesn't matter if, or Mississippi State's not a good three-point shooting team, but it doesn't matter. You got to guard. Pittsburgh's just leaving Mississippi State wide open. If you leave a team wide open, they're going to knock shots down. I mean, that's just the way it is sometimes. I mean, if they're missing them, you can leave them open, I guess, but if they're making them, you got to guard. And they're not guarding from the three-point line really well. They've sagged off several times. And if Pittsburgh was guarding Mississippi State, they probably would be winning or tied right now. But Mississippi State, again, taking advantage of the breakdowns on the defensive side of the ball. You definitely got to give credit where credit's due for Mississippi State. They're not the best offensive team in the West, but they're hitting their shots right now. There's been a lot of high-flying action so far. Definitely both teams, started out actually better than I thought they would. I thought there'd be a lot more struggles on the offensive end for both of these teams, considering that they did struggle in the respective conferences on the offensive side of the ball. But you definitely saw both teams making an effort to start out quick. In Mississippi State, they got the jump on Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh was able to cut it back, and they tied the game. But since then, Pittsburgh's given up a couple of wide open threes to Mississippi State, and Mississippi State's knocked them down. So if Mississippi State keeps getting these wide open threes like they are, then there's a really good chance that Mississippi State can pull away from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's just leaving them open, and that's just not good defense. And again, I think Pittsburgh is a good defensive team. They showed at times in their conference in the ACC that they could be a really good defensive team, but they're just giving up way too many open shots right now. It's definitely not going to help out their prospects for this win. And if Mississippi State keeps knocking down threes, then they could have a really good shot to win because, like I said, when they were in the SEC, there were several games where they just could not make shots. The Texas A&M game comes to mind because they were winning that game, but then Texas A&M took the lead, and it was at Mississippi State. But Mississippi State just could not make shots down the stretch of that game, and they fell short and lost. But they're not having a problem on the offensive end so far. It's been a really good start for Mississippi State. It's 14-8 first half. Got less than 15 minutes to go in the first half. Chris Jans, he got his team prepared for this game, it seems like. See, you look at their three-point shooting percentage. They shot 26.6% from three in the regular season. It's one of the worst three-point shooting teams to ever make the tournament, but they're 4 or 5 to start this game. And Pittsburgh knocks down a tough 2, Jamarius Burton, 14-10. Mississippi State is 4 or 5 from three, and they normally shoot 26.6% from three. That is crazy to start out an NCAA tournament game like that from three, usually, especially when you're not a very good three-point shooting team. That's crazy. I wonder if Mississippi State's going to try to drive now. They're going to keep shooting threes since they're making them. Mississippi State shoots a tough 2, misses it. Pittsburgh, they had the rebound. Mississippi State gets the ball back. It got tapped around, and that time they airball 3. For sure, that was not a good-looking shot. That looked like more of a 26.6% three-point shooting team than the 4 or 5 start there. That was a bad shot. And Pittsburgh gets the ball. Pittsburgh shoots a 3, and they knock it down. 14-13. Pittsburgh's cutting it. Pittsburgh's 3 of 3 from 3. Both teams are really shooting well from the perimeter right now. And Mississippi State with another air ball. Pittsburgh with the rebound. Throwing it up the floor, and there's a turnover. That's good defense for Mississippi State. Intercepting the pass like a football player. Mississippi State with another turnover. Pittsburgh is driving the ball down the floor. The sloppiness is really starting to show up for Mississippi State. Had a couple bad passes last couple of possessions. Pittsburgh driving in, kicking it out. Another drive for Pittsburgh. And a miss. They gets the zone rebound, though. And Pittsburgh misses an easy 2. That was an easy 2. But he faded away on it and he missed. 14-13 Mississippi State. Tough 2 for Mississippi State, and they miss it, and another rebound for Pittsburgh. The offense is starting to cool off a little bit again. Jamarius Burton with the basketball for Pittsburgh. He's a really solid player. He's using his physicality. Kicks it out for a 3, and Pittsburgh misses. Mississippi State now running the floor. Mississippi State hasn't scored in 3 minutes. Their offense has really gone cold. And another turnover for Mississippi State. Pittsburgh basketball. Jamarius Burton trying to slow things down, get Pittsburgh settled. He's driving in. Another kick out to Blake Henson for Pittsburgh. It's not a very good pass in the corner, but they call a foul on Mississippi State. Inside the pylon said this game is like a heartbeat monitor at the hospital. It's so up and down. For sure. So Mississippi State just went almost 3.5 minutes without a score. That is definitely tough. Their offense is starting to not play very well. They were playing really well on offense at the beginning, but now their shots are not falling. I think Mississippi State, I think they're a good team for sure, but their offense is starting to show some cracks. They were really doing good early, but it was a little bit, you could say, potentially of a facade because they're not a good shooting team. They are a good team on defense, and they play a really physical brand of basketball, but their defense was struggling early, and they were hitting their shots. But now they're starting to play better on the defensive end, but now their shots are not falling, and they're starting to turn it over on offense. So right now, Mississippi State just is not playing well on both sides of the ball at the same time. They're only playing well either on offense or defense. Pittsburgh, they were really struggling early, but Pittsburgh's starting to, get things going a little bit on the offensive end. They're starting to pass the ball better. They're starting to hit some shots. And Pittsburgh's starting to turn Mississippi State over, so their defense is starting to play better as well after the beginning of the game when they were giving up wide open shots for Mississippi State. Pittsburgh's starting to crack down on defense. So both teams, they're starting to settle in a little bit in different ways, but neither team's really playing well on both sides of the ball at the same time, which is to be expected. I mean, both these teams, that's why they're in the first four. They're not like a 4 seed who's got it together on both sides of the ball. Both teams are flawed, but they're both really solid teams. And I think they're both playing really hard, which is what you want to see in a game like this. That's an elimination game. Both teams are playing really hard. They're giving everything they've got, but for sure, very sloppy basketball at times for both teams, and especially the fact that neither team can really get things going on both sides of the ball at the same time. So it's going to be interesting which team makes a run where on offense and defense they're both playing well, because if Pittsburgh or Mississippi State can do that, there's a really good chance they can go on a big run. Because Mississippi State was making shots early, but they were giving up, some easy buckets to Pittsburgh, and then Pittsburgh, they started playing bad on defense, but they were hitting some shots, but then it just vice versa. So it was really interesting. It's been a good game, though. It's definitely what you want to see, a close game. Both teams playing hard. I think it's really telling for Mississippi State, though, the way that they're playing on offense with the turnovers. Chris Jans, how he's getting after him on the sideline. He's really, definitely a good coach. He coaches really hard, and I think he's going to get after his team for sure. But you look at Pittsburgh, when they were giving up those wide open threes to Mississippi State after the first media timeout, Jeff Capel must have done something right because Pittsburgh started to guard a lot harder. So definitely both coaches really get after their team, and they've done a really good job early, at the spurts of the game that both teams were struggling in, that the coaches got after the players and they're starting to play better. On the respective side of the ball, they were struggling, but then they start struggling on the other end. So it's really going to be interesting to see which team starts to get it all together. Pittsburgh with the ball, top of the key, Jamarius Burton. He kicks it out. Blake Henson, he fakes a three, and he takes another tough floater. He misses again. But they do call a foul on Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got 4 fouls early in this game. Pittsburgh with 0 fouls. So Mississippi State, they're getting, a little bit in trouble with the fouls, with the physicality that they're playing with, Ryan, which you want to see. The physicality is really good. Blake Henson, though, averaging 15.6 boards. He's been really good for Pittsburgh this year. He did miss a free throw earlier in this game already. And he does knock this one down. So it's 14-14. He's got another free throw on deck to try to take the lead. Blake Henson does take a while at the line trying to size it up, and he rattles that one home. It's 15-14 Pittsburgh. So Mississippi State, they've given up a 7-0 run to the Pittsburgh Panthers, so they're going to have to find a way to get things going again if they want to retake the lead. Clint Moses says, "Go Beavs." Thanks for being here, Clint. Stinks that the Beavers aren't in the tournament or the NIT for sure, but you got a high-level basketball game here. Mississippi State's missed their last 5 field goals. That's tough. Mississippi State in the corner. What a block by Jamarius Burton. Clint says he's picking Pitt. So was inside the pylons and Jeff as well. You got a lot of people leaning Pitt right now. But Mississippi State, their offense is really going cold, so it's definitely making Pitt look better. But there's 6 seconds on the shot clock, 11-11 left in the first half, and Mississippi State is 0-6 from the field after starting 5-7, and they were 4-5 from 3. They've really gone cold. Mississippi State, I think, needs to have better ball movement. That was a good pass from Tolu Smith. And they do call the first foul on Pittsburgh on Jamarius Burton. 11:07 left in the first half. That bails out Mississippi State. That was a bad possession. There was not much going on that possession. So there's a 4-minute scoring drought for Mississippi State. They have not scored in 4 minutes. That is tough. Good defense from Pitt, but they do call a foul. Jeff Capel does not like it. He thought it was all ball, but they call it on Pittsburgh anyway. They call a foul. Jeff Capel does not like it at all. He thought it was clean. Blake Henson doesn't like it either. Or neither Jamarius Burton. The whole entire Pitt team is outraged. They've called the second foul on Jamarius Burton. So he's got 2 fouls. That's a big loss for Pittsburgh. Their leading scorer. So Mississippi State with another miss. It definitely did not impact Pittsburgh there that he got knocked out of the game with 2 fouls because Mississippi State missed yet again. Mississippi State just stripped Pittsburgh, but it went off of Mississippi State. So it's 15-14 Pittsburgh, 10:44 left in the first half. Jeff Capel's still mad about that foul. Especially when it's your leading scorer. That's definitely when you get upset, is when it's your leading scorer. Like Jamarius Burton picking up 2 fouls. Because now you got to find offense from other players that normally aren't, the scoring load for your team. And Pittsburgh inbounding the ball all the way across half court, and they were able to get the ball. It was almost a turnover, though. Pittsburgh faking a 3, moving the ball around. And they take a tough 3, and they somehow knock it down. Pittsburgh 18-14. That was a tough step back 3. I don't know how he knocked that one down. It's been a 10-0 run for Pittsburgh. And Mississippi State misses a tough 2. And they call it off of Pittsburgh. But, man, this game is getting physical. Wow. Both teams are playing hard. How did that guy knock that step back 3? That was a tough shot. Mississippi State's going to have to find a way to settle down, though. They're really struggling right now on the offensive end. They have not scored on offense in almost 5 minutes. Tolu Smith on the block, trying to back down Pittsburgh. He almost got it stripped. It was almost a turnover. Mississippi State driving the ball, and they do call a foul, but it's an offensive foul on Mississippi State. The 5th foul on the Bulldogs. And Mississippi State still cannot get anything going on the offensive end. Pittsburgh is hounding them on defense right now. Jeff Capel definitely should be happy with that. So it's 18-14 Pitt. Pittsburgh basketball. Under 10 minutes to go in the first half. And Pittsburgh's on a 10-0 run. And Mississippi State hasn't scored in 5 minutes. And they call an offensive foul on Pittsburgh. He scored the bucket, but they called an offensive foul, so no bucket. The defenses are definitely getting set. They really don't want to give up points. So they're really defending well. He got his feet set. Man, he was moving a little bit. But they still gave him the offensive foul. Mississippi State faking a 3, driving in. And they do call a foul on Pittsburgh. Jeff says Mississippi State looks rattled. For sure, they're definitely struggling right now on offense. And Clint Moses, he says, national narrative ACC is down, but I think Pitt and NC State could surprise Miami, Duke, Virginia can make deep runs. I agree with you. I mean, I do think the ACC per standard was down, the normal. It wasn't as good as it has been, but I do think there's still a lot of good teams. It just goes to show you how good the ACC has been for so long that this is a down year because you still have solid teams, but the narrative of it is that they're down does hold weight because usually the conference is better than what it was this season. But I still think it has been a solid conference overall. Mississippi State knocks down both free throws, so now it's 18-16 Pitt. 9:25 left in the first. Pittsburgh taking a long time to get the ball up the floor, but they do get it across half court. Both teams are struggling from the field. Pitt's 6 of 15 from the field. Mississippi State's 5 of 15. Pittsburgh shooting a three, and they knock down another three, and they call a foul. So this is the second time Mississippi State's fouled Pittsburgh on a three that they made. That's crazy. Greg Elliott shot the three. I mean, he really sold the foul. He really sold it, but still, they called it, and he has a chance to get a 4-point play, even though it is always tough to hit the free throw after hitting a three and getting fouled. It's so tough to get the 4-point play. So Greg Elliott at the line, and he missed the free throw as well, just like Blake Henson did. Could not get the 4-point play. So 21-16 Pitt, 9 minutes to go in the first. In Mississippi State, they missed, but Tolu Smith with the offensive rebound and put back 21-18 Pittsburgh, 8:50 to go in the first. It's been a high-level game. A lot of sloppiness, but really good defense. The offense has been coming and going. It's been a really good game. Pittsburgh with the basketball, and they shoot a three, and they miss. Tolu Smith with the board for Mississippi State. 21-18, Pittsburgh, 8:30 to go in the first. Tolu Smith driving, and they call a foul on Pitt. So you've got 8:29 to go in the first half. And Mississippi State's trying to cut into the Pittsburgh lead. They were down by a decent amount, but they've cut it to 3. And Tolu Smith has free throws. So he can cut it to 1 if he hits them both. And Tolu Smith misses the first free throw. Free throws are key, and both teams are missing them early. Pittsburgh's bringing Blake Henson back into the game. Tolu Smith got 4 points and 3 rebounds early. He's got 1 more free throw to go. See if he can knock it down. And he knocks it down. So it's 21-19. Mississippi State's cut it to 2. Tolu Smith with 5 points now. 8:25 to go in the first half. Pittsburgh bringing the ball up the floor. Trying to break the press, and they did. Pittsburgh's passing the ball around at the top of the key. Pittsburgh driving and kicking out for a 3. Pittsburgh misses the 3. Tolu Smith with another rebound. He's up to 4 boards. Mississippi State's pushing the ball. Mississippi State fakes a 3. They drive in, and they call a foul and the bucket. 21 all. Deshaun Davis with a big drive. That was a good drive. So it's 21 all Pittsburgh, Mississippi State, under 8 to go. The offense is starting to pick up again for Mississippi State. They were really struggling on offense for a time, but they're starting to get it going again. Definitely both teams are really playing hard. You can definitely tell that they want this win to move on in the NCAA tournament. We've got a tie ball game, 21 all. I mean, it's been some high-level action. I mean, you see both teams are scrapping for the ball. They're getting on the floor. Both teams are not the greatest three-point shooting teams, but they have been knocking some threes down. Mississippi State's kind of come back to earth a little bit, but Pittsburgh, they've hit 2 threes that they were fouled on as well, but then they both missed the free throw to not get the 4-point play. But both teams are playing really well. I think that you can't really ask for much more from either team right now. Maybe, cut down the sloppiness and maybe take better shots overall, but I think both teams are playing fairly well for sure. Showing the Allstate commercial. Mayhem. It's definitely mayhem and madness this time of year for sure, so it fits right in. You got a lot of mayhem. Hopefully no broken goals like in the commercial. You don't want broken, broken goals. We got to see who wins the game for sure. But this has been a good game. It's going to be really interesting to see if both teams, continue to shoot a lot of threes, specifically Mississippi State, especially because they're a team that does not shoot well from the three-point line at all. Pittsburgh shoots a better percentage than Mississippi State. But if I'm Mississippi State, I'm driving the ball trying to get to the foul line. I think that they need to go inside, get some free throws, because they're not a good three-point shooting team. And they have shot the ball well early, but you don't want to fall in love with it and keep shooting it, and then they can't, climb out of a hole that they've created for themselves. Clint Moses, he asked, how far does Indiana go? I like that. Trace Jackson Davis. Trace Jackson Davis is a fantastic player. I mean, averaging 20-plus points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks for a guy that's 6'9" is incredible. I mean, in the Big Ten, putting up those numbers against guys that are bigger than him like Zach Edey, Hunter Dickinson, it's just incredible what he's done, especially because of the fact Indiana at times does not shoot the ball as well as they should, so he has to do so much for the team. I think that Indiana's ceiling is a potential Sweet 16 or Elite 8 if they play well, but as a lot of people have pointed out that think Kent State can get the upset over Indiana, or if Indiana beats Kent State, they could lose to Miami in the second round if they beat Drake, is because Indiana's inconsistent. They do struggle with consistency. But hopefully, for Indiana, that they can not be inconsistent. They can go far, but for their sake. But if they don't, then they could lose early. Mississippi State missed the free throw, and they got the offensive rebound, and they just took the lead. It's 23-21 Mississippi State with 7:40 left in the first. Pittsburgh's passing the ball, and Jeff Capel did not like that offensive rebound that Pittsburgh let Mississippi State have on that missed free throw. You got to box out. Nelly Cummins dribbling the ball around. He's trying to drive. He does turn around, and he got the foul. They called a foul on Mississippi State. He sold it. He did a good job drawing that foul. He was doing everything he possibly could to draw the foul. He drove right in. Yeah, you cannot give that up. Pittsburgh's got to get that rebound. Those kind of plays hurt you in the long run. If you give up too many plays like that, you could end up losing. Nelly Cummins averaging 11 points and 3 boards at the line. And he misses the first free throw for Pittsburgh. They're really struggling at the line right now. Jeff says if Indiana plays like they can go far. I agree. They're just a team that's very inconsistent. They have a lot of talent. They have the potential to go far. They could be an Elite 8 team, Sweet 16 team, but they have to play 3 or 4 games in a row of high-level basketball. And if they can do that, then I could see them go far. But the fact they have a chance is something that has not been said for Indiana in a few years. So it's definitely showing that Mike Woodson has done a lot with the program. Pittsburgh just stole the ball from Mississippi State, and they lay it in. Nelly Cummings. Pittsburgh is retaking the lead, 24-23. Under 7 to go in the first half. Tolu Smith on the block for Mississippi State. Surprised there's no foul in that collision. And Mississippi State misses a 3. And Pittsburgh tried to get the rebound, but Mississippi State kept fighting for the ball, and it goes off of Pitts. So Mississippi State has the ball back. But what a steal by Nelly Cummings. And a really good layup. It was 24-23 Pittsburgh with 6:38 left in the first. Very close game. Mississippi State struggling to get the ball in bounds, and they have to throw it across half court to get it in. Mississippi State dribbling the ball at the top of the key. And an easy layup. Pittsburgh just broke down on defense. Allowed Mississippi State to get an easy layup. 25-24 Mississippi State. Pittsburgh bringing the ball up the floor. Jeff Capel will not like that. That was way too easy. Shaquille Moore with that layup for Mississippi State. Nelly Cummins shooting a tough 3, and he misses. Probably not the shot Jeff Capel wants. Pittsburgh's starting to really struggle a little bit. And Mississippi State shoots a 3. That was not a shot they should have taken, but Mississippi State with the offensive rebound. And they knock it down, 27-24 Mississippi State. Just a nice layup for sure. But Mississippi State starting to get things going on both sides of the ball on defense and on offense. Pittsburgh's getting hounded at the top of the key. Nelly Cummings gets the ball back. He's trying to reset for Pittsburgh, and he drives in. Nice pass, but what a block by Mississippi State. 27-24. And they call a double dribble on Mississippi State, so Pittsburgh's getting the ball back. Just as what a block for sure. That was a heck of a block. He pinned him right at the rim. Chris Jans definitely liked that defensive play for sure. So it's 27-24 Mississippi State. 5:20 to go in the first. Pittsburgh's trying to reset. They're starting to struggle a little bit on the offensive end. Mississippi State's ratcheted up the defense. Jamarius Burton's driving in for Pittsburgh. Nelly Cummings for three, and he knocks it down. Tie game, 27-27. Big shot for Pittsburgh. Jeff says both teams are fast. They're definitely playing a lot faster than usual, especially Mississippi State. But both teams, they realize the urgency. They're in the tournament. They're giving it everything they've got for sure. Mississippi State in the corner for three, and they miss. Mississippi State with another three, and they miss again. Mississippi State's starting to struggle from the three-point line. That is their Achilles heel. They're not a great offensive team from three. They are a great defensive team, but Mississippi State struggles to shoot threes. And Pittsburgh's a really good defensive team, but they're starting to let Mississippi State shoot the threes again because they know they struggle. But Pittsburgh just missed on the other end. Mississippi State with the ball back. And Mississippi State shooting another three, and they miss again. They're not a good three-point shooting team. They got to drive. Tolu Smith down low, and he misses. Pittsburgh with the rebound. Jamarius Burton settling things down. If I'm Chris Jans, I'm not having Mississippi State shoot them any more threes in this game, especially if they're contested, because they're not knocking them down anymore. Pittsburgh in the ball down low, and they miss. No foul called. Mississippi State's bringing it back up. Get it down to Tolu Smith again, and he gets an easy two, but they call an offensive foul on Tolu Smith. He thought he had a bucket, but they called a push-off. That's crazy. Man, I can see it. 27-27 Pittsburgh, Mississippi State. But in a really physical game like that, that's tough. That's a tough call for Tolu Smith. But high-level basketball both ways. Mississippi State's come crashing back down to earth from the three-point line. They are not shooting the ball well from three anymore like they were early on in the game. But both teams are playing really physical defense. Both teams are running the floor. It's been a high-level game, a very fun game to watch for sure. You can definitely tell these two teams know what's at stake. They have to win to advance. In other news in the NIT, UAB beat Southern Miss 88-60. So that's another NIT game wrapped up. Really good win for the Blazers. But this game right here is definitely not a blowout for sure. It is a close game. I got the Samuel Jackson, Charles Barkley commercials back. Another sign that March is here. They're always pretty funny. I wonder how many more threes Mississippi State's going to shoot. I'm really intrigued because, again, I just don't see how Chris Jans, wants to continue seeing his team shoot threes and they're not making them. Some of them are open, yes, but an open three, when you're not a good three-point shooting team and you're not hitting them is almost like a turnover. If you're not a good three-point shooting team and you're missing all your threes, you might as well just stop shooting them because you're giving the ball right back to the other team. And Pittsburgh was letting Mississippi State shoot the threes early because of the fact they knew Mississippi State's not a very good three-point shooting team, but they were hitting them. So it's like for Pittsburgh, you got to start guarding it more. But now that they're missing, Pittsburgh can afford to relax a bit and let them have the open shots again because they're struggling from the three-point line. So I think that you have, a team in Mississippi State needs to stop shooting threes. And for Pittsburgh, they're not the best three-point shooting team either, but they're hitting them. So keep shooting them until you miss. And when you start missing, then you need to, get the ball back inside. But overall as well, Pittsburgh is also not hitting the free throws. They're really struggling from the foul line, which could come back to haunt them in this game as well. You got to hit your free throws. Mississippi State's done a better job of that. Edwards says Clemson is going to lose if Vandy put in the books unless we lose to Morehead State in the first round. Hopefully for you, Edward, Clemson does not lose that early. I mean, if they play like they did in some of their wins this year, then I think Clemson can advance past Vandy and Morehead State. But if they play like they did against Louisville, then they're probably a team that's definitely going to get upset early. So it all depends on how they play. Just like with Indiana in the NCAA tournament, they're a team that a lot of people are picking to go to the Final Four, and some people are picking them to lose early. And that's because they're inconsistent. When you're an inconsistent team, people don't know what to expect from you. So Pittsburgh's with the ball, 27 all, 3:20 to go in the first half. Pittsburgh with the ball at the top of the key. Blake Henson gets it to Nelly Cummings. Pittsburgh is trying to figure out what to do. Nelly Cummings is driving it in, kicks it out for a three, and Pittsburgh hits their 7th three of the game. 7 threes in the first half, 30-27 Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh shooting the ball really well from three. They've only hit 3 twos, and they've hit 7 threes. That is crazy. Mississippi State with the drive, and they lay it in, 30-29. Good response from the Bulldogs. Under 3 to go in the first. Pittsburgh shooting another 3, and they missed that one, an air ball. 30-29 Pittsburgh. And they call an offensive foul on Mississippi State. He hit the shot, but they call an offensive foul. There's been a lot of those in this game. He used the elbow. He did use some elbow, but they're definitely very happy to call offensive fouls in this game, which I don't mind. They're calling them, every single time, and it's consistent for sure, but that's crazy. He did use a little bit of elbow, though. It was 30-29 Pittsburgh. 2:20 to go in the first half, and Mississippi State has 8 turnovers. That's key. And Pittsburgh with an air ball floater, Mississippi State with the basketball, pushing the ball down the court. Shaquille Moore with the ball, getting it down low. Nice spin move, and the layup is there. Mississippi State has retaken the lead, 31-30, 2 to go in the first. That was a nice shot. Nelly Cummings was trying to find a lane inside, but he couldn't, so he kicks it back out. Pittsburgh driving. Play is bad, but what a pass. And a foul. They call a foul on Mississippi State. They bailed him out. The shot clock was late. So it was 31-30 Mississippi State over Pittsburgh, 1:38 left in the first half, and Pittsburgh's got 2 free throws. Can't believe it's almost half already. This game's been high flying. It's been going by fairly quick. Greg Elliott at the line. He's got 6 points. He's hit 2 threes, his first free throws of the day. And he hits the first. It's 31 all. Pittsburgh's definitely struggled at the line in this game, but Greg Elliott ends those troubles by hitting the first. They've definitely missed some free throws. And Greg Elliott knocks down the second. So it's 32-31 Pittsburgh. The Panthers have retaken the lead. been a back and forth game. Neither team's led by more than 6 points. There's been 7 lead changes and 6 ties. So it's definitely been a close game. Neither team's gotten really a grip on the lead and run away with it. It's going back and forth. DJ Jerry's thought about the three for Mississippi State, but he passes it up. Mississippi State back to DJ Jerry's. They shoot a three, and they knock it down. Mississippi State finally ends their three-point shooting drought. They knock in their 5th three of the game. Big shot. 34-32 Mississippi State. 1 minute to go in the first half. In the first 4 game between the Panthers and Bulldogs. Mississippi State up 2. Pittsburgh with the basketball. Nelly Cummins is driving. He shoots a three, and he knocks it down. Pittsburgh is retaking the lead. 35-34 Pittsburgh. 40 seconds left in the first. Big shot. And Mississippi State tries to answer with a three of themselves, and they miss. I agree with you. That was an awful shot by Mississippi State. I would not have shot that one myself, man. I mean, yeah, you just hit a three, and then Pittsburgh just hit the three, so you want to respond with another three, but I don't think that guy should have been the one taking that shot at the top of the key, and he missed it badly. It was not close. Got to swing the ball around and get the best-looking shot for sure. I mean, unless you're a great three-point shooter, you probably shouldn't be shooting a shot like that. It's been a very close game for sure. Both teams playing really good basketball at times on both sides of the ball. The offenses have been coming and going for both teams. The defenses have been coming and going for both teams. And both teams are showing what they're capable of for sure. I mean, both teams are shooting the ball from three fairly well. Mississippi State started out the game shooting great from three, but they started to have a slump. But they hit a big one just now, even though they missed a big one. But overall, I think both teams are playing pretty well. But it's about consistency, though. Like in the second half, since neither team has been able to get separation on the other, it's about which team plays better on both sides of the ball for longer in the second half. Who hits their free throws, who knocks down open threes, who commits fewer turnovers. Mississippi State's had a lot of turnovers in this first half. If you eliminate those, they could be up. But if Pittsburgh had to hit more of their free throws, they could be up as well. So it's, you know, you're looking at the mistakes. Who's making mistakes? And both teams have had their fair share of mistakes for sure. Because 8 turnovers is not ideal in a half for a team. And that's how many turnovers Mississippi State has. Pittsburgh, they only have 2 turnovers. But Pittsburgh's missed like 4 or 5 free throws, and Mississippi State's only missed a couple. That's definitely how both teams could have gotten some separation in this first half. But we got a tight one. I mean, you'd rather have it that way for sure, a tight game in March Madness. We only got about 30 seconds left in the first half, though. It's almost halftime. It's crazy. It's been a fast-moving first half. It's always funny how people talk about, though, that this is like the one time a year people watch True TV, unless you watch True TV for other things. But like, this is the only time of year a lot of people watch True TV. It's like, where's True TV? Hopefully I got it so we can watch these games. But yeah, it is a big game for sure. Mississippi State, Pittsburgh has definitely lived up to the billing. It's been a close game, but Texas A&M Corpus Christi, they're showing they got their first tournament win in school history. That's cool. It's always cool to see a school get their first tournament win. They played really well against Southeast Missouri State, got the close win. But Pittsburgh, they're up 35-34 on Mississippi State with 30 seconds to go in the first. And Pittsburgh's with the basketball, the chance to increase their lead before half. 6-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Nelly Cummings with the ball. He gets it to Blake Henson, almost a turnover. Nelly Cummings is driving. Kicks it in the corner to Greg Elliott, and Greg Elliott misses a three. Mississippi State, 5 seconds with a chance to take the lead before half. They're passing up the floor. DJ Jerry's for three, and he misses. 35-34 Pittsburgh at the half. Really tough way to finish for Mississippi State, not getting that last shot down to be able to take the lead. But they're in the game, and that's all that matters for Mississippi State. Pittsburgh really shot well from three in the first half. They're interviewing Jeff Capel. He's probably not happy with some of the defensive performance on some possessions, especially considering Pittsburgh is a team that's, supposed to be really good at defense. And they are playing good defense at times, but they have given up some open shots. But his offense has been there, and he's probably really happy with that for sure. The offense has definitely been there for Pittsburgh, and they're hitting a lot more shots than probably a lot of people were expecting. And they've hit 7 threes. But we definitely got a close game at the half. Should be a good second half if it lives up to the first half's performance for both teams. Should be a really good second half for sure. Easy Money's back. He says, thanks for being here. He says, GG so far, roll tide roll, and go SEC, SEC, Hell State. Well, I mean, you look at Mississippi State, they're definitely a team that, the way they're playing, at times in the first half on the defensive side of the ball, they look like a team that could get the win, cut back on the turnovers, and keep hitting some shots, play really good defense. I definitely could see them getting the win. Hummus Zero, thanks for being here as well. He says, hey, Jeffrey and everyone. And Easy Money said, what's up, Hummus? So we definitely got some people in here. It's a really good game. I mean, definitely, the type game that you were expecting. Both teams are playing really physical. Both teams are playing good defense. So that's a really good sign for both these teams' prospects to get the win. But there's been a little bit more offense than expected, especially for Mississippi State knocking some threes down. Pittsburgh's hit a lot of threes as well. So that's awesome. Thanks, Easy Money, for sure. Thanks for being here. I mean, this is one of those things where it's like this game just cannot wait to see, which team can finally get that run together, to potentially be able to find a way to get this win. It's going to be really interesting to see which team does, because right now, both teams they can't get any separation. It's been a really close first half. But I do feel that Pittsburgh overall probably played the cleaner game. They looked a little bit better on the offensive end. I mean, they were, taking better shots than Mississippi State throughout the first half. They weren't turning the ball over. But I think that if you look at Pittsburgh, I mean, they're a team that if they keep playing the way they are, they have a really good chance to win this game because they weren't turning over. Mississippi State had some turnover issues, but they were hitting some shots and free throws, and that kept them in it. Hummus here, you're absolutely right. Pitt hasn't been good in a while. It's really cool to see both these teams in the tournament because Pittsburgh hasn't been since 2016. Mississippi State hasn't been in since 2019. And it's really cool to see both of them here, teams that haven't been in a while, and it really shows they want to get this win. It's great to see. I do think both teams belong for sure. They are playing well. But the bubble was kind of weak, so it definitely gave them a better chance to get in the tournament. Easy Money said, y'all hit the like. I just remember myself. Thank you, Easy Money, for sure. Everybody here is new or hasn't liked the stream yet, like the stream. Subscribe if you're new, please. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is a big game. It's awesome. Hummus here says, I remember they were really solid black when they had Jamie Dixon as coach. Jamie Dixon is really good, and he's done a great job with TCU. And they were a team that should have been way higher than a 6th seed if they didn't, have the injury to Mike Miles, and they were losing some games when he was out. But Jamie Dixon has done a great job as head coach. Easy Money says Pitt's uniforms actually look really cool. I agree. The black and the yellow is really cool. I mean, I like their, blue and white or, the blue and black, but they do have some really cool uniforms today. Really distinct. But it'll definitely be all the sweeter if they can get the win, though, for sure. If they can get the win while wearing those uniforms, they'll definitely be a lot happier for sure. They're showing the highlights of the first half. Mississippi State, it was crazy. I mean, Pittsburgh was leaving them open, daring them to shoot, and they were knocking shots down. They're not a good three-point shooting team at all. They're one of the worst three-point shooting teams to ever make the NCAA tournament, but they were hitting them early. The Pitt, they shot well from three as well. They were knocking shots down, especially Nelly Cummings, Blake Henson, Greg Elliott. They were knocking threes in. Mississippi State hit a big one to take the lead, but then Pittsburgh, they responded to take the 35-34 lead at half. Easy money says I'm pulling for Mississippi State, though, SEC, for sure, for sure. I mean, it'd be really cool for both teams to get this win. I mean, like I said, both teams, have not had a lot of tournament success in a while. And I think that for both programs, they need this win. I think Pittsburgh and Mississippi State both need this one. Maybe probably Pittsburgh more for Jeff Capel because he's been at Pitt for a few years. Maybe he needs this win more because Mississippi State, it's Chris Jan's first season as head coach. And a lot of people probably weren't expecting Mississippi State to be a tournament team in his first season as the Mississippi State head coach. So I think that Pittsburgh probably needs this win a little bit more. But overall, this win would be huge for either program because they haven't had tournament success in a while. And to get this win would be something they have not done in a long time. Even though it's a Dayton game, it doesn't matter. It's still a tournament game. A lot of people say it's not officially a tournament game or a tournament win doesn't mean as much because it's not one of the round of 64, but it's still a big deal. I think that you look at, Jeff Capel, and if he can get this win for Pittsburgh, it can mean some good things for him next year. If he can get some good transfers and continue to get some players into the Pittsburgh program, he definitely has a better team than he's had in a long time in Pittsburgh in general. But I think that Jeff Capel definitely helped his job security this year and could potentially keep him there for a few more seasons. And they continue to make tournaments. Easy money to Mississippi State. Got to watch the Zells. The refs were watching. One looked legit. The other call was iffy. Yeah, I agree. The second one was the iffy one. I mean, they're trying to call the game. They're trying to let them play, but they're also trying to call the rule book because it is a tournament. You don't want to get, bad calls or missed calls, especially when the games mean as much as these do. When you make a bad call in the regular season, it's a big deal, obviously. People are still upset, but it's a lot bigger of a deal when it's the tournament like this. You want to get the calls right. And definitely if you look at the refs, they're trying their hardest to not miss calls. So they see the elbow and the push off there, they're going to call it because you don't want to potentially get the call wrong. Even though, again, I do think that if you look at some of the calls, they were a bit weak because I think that if you look at both these, teams and the way that they're playing, they're both very physical style teams. They play a physical brand of basketball, and some plays they were letting them scrap. Like when the ball got on the floor and both teams were going after the ball, I think they were letting them play. They were letting them go after the ball. But then some of those calls, like you said, with the elbows that were a bit iffy, I think that's when you kind of see that maybe they were a little chippy or maybe they were, some calls that were a little weak because of the fact those are the calls the refs are trying not to mess up. They want to get those right. But when the play breaks down and players are on the floor going after the ball, I think that's more of when you see teams, or the refs allow the teams to play. They want to allow, whatever happens when it's like that. But I think that when it's, like an elbow or whatever, that's when, kind of Edwards' point right here. He says, anytime you use your elbow to create space is offensive foul, period. But you see a lot of times, sometimes players do get away with it. They don't call it. But, like, in this game, they are. And that's the thing. They're not going to let them get away with it in the NCAA tournament. This is a game that matters, and it's going to be by the text, by the rule book. They're going to do a lot better job of calling it, I think, in this game. And Easy Money said, yeah, it's fast-paced. It's tough being a ref. I agree with that as well. I mean, again, when you're in a game like this, a game of this magnitude, when it's a tournament game, you're going to play as hard as you can. I think even teams that are slower paced in nature play faster. Because, I mean, you look at Virginia and UMBC, the year that UMBC beat Virginia, and Virginia was the 1 seed, and they lost. They were the first 1 seed to lose. Virginia was playing slow basketball like they always do, but it came back to haunt them because UMBC was playing so fast. They were knocking shots down, and when they got ahead of Virginia, Virginia was trying to still play their slow style of offense, and they lost. You can't, play slow style of offense when you get down or in a game like this. You got to give everything you've got. You got to play like your hair's on fire. You got to, run up and down the floor and try to make shots and try to do everything you can to win. And both these teams are doing that, even though I think Mississippi State's kind of a team that plays a bit slower in nature, but they're definitely not tonight. Edwards says, anytime you're able to create space in offensive foul, period. Like I said, I completely agree. Easy Money agrees. Jeff agrees as well. Easy Money says, yeah, they get away with it. Depends on the ref. That's another thing. It does depend on the refs. You look at, different referees in different conferences, and sometimes in the same conference, the different refs that are in the same conference, they call it differently, which is unfortunate because you want every single ref to call it the same way, but it is what it is. I mean, you have referees and they're all different, and even though they all go by the same rule book, sometimes they interpret the rules differently or they just call it differently in nature, and that creates confusion because some players feel they can get away with something, but then they're in a different game and they can't, and it's frustrating. But it is what it is. You're never going to have perfect, fouls called in games. It just isn't going to happen for sure. But in the NCAA tournament, you would hope that it's as consistent as possible. And at least in this game, they've called basically a charge on every single play. So it's been consistent. Easy Money says, hey, Jeff, roll Tide, roll. I believe our Crimson Tide will get it done. Well, they should in their first game for sure against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. But after that, who knows? Anything's possible. I mean, you never know they could get upset. But more than likely, 99.99% sure they should win their first game. But then after that, all bets are off. You just never know. I mean, last year, Baylor was a 1 seed. North Carolina was an 8 seed, and North Carolina won. You never know. Sometimes upsets happen. So I think Alabama can go far or potentially go all the way to the Final Four or something like that. But you never know. They could get upset earlier than a lot of people think. Edwards said, should be getting away with it because then you'll start seeing the same stuff Harden does. Yeah, well, the NBA definitely has weird rules. Because, I mean, like, in the NBA, you see players take 5 steps and there's no travel. I mean, they sometimes do that in college, depending on the ref as well. They always call it when a player takes 2 steps, gets the ball, when they take the 2 steps, and then they take a step. They call that. But when a player's driving in the lane, sometimes they don't call it, even though it is. So I think that if you look at it like that with the NBA, I mean, they let them walk a lot, and sometimes they miss, fouls, like offensive fouls, because a lot of times open threes are off push-offs. But like you said, they just don't call it, which is unfortunate. Jeff says, hey, Easy Money, we shall see their team is really good. Yeah, Alabama is a really good team. I think that their only flaw is sometimes they shoot too many threes, and if they're not making them, then they're beatable. But you got to take threes to make threes. It's just about taking the right threes. And when you're not making them, finding different ways to score. If you're making your threes, by all means, keep shooting them. But if you're not shooting them and you're not hitting them, then I think that you need to find different ways to score. Sometimes teams fall into that trap. Easy Money says maybe they should make all the rest AI laughing out loud robots. Now, that's an interesting thought. I mean, there's been talk like with baseball and doing all that stuff with the not having the umpire, and, you kind of already have the computer and everything, but, the technology that shows if it's a strike or a ball, but you still have the umpire. I think that potentially you could. I mean, you never know. I mean, there's a lot of technology, and maybe it could get it more accurate, but I still probably, as of now, you need people. But as long as you have people calling games, there's going to be inconsistency. That's just the way it is. There's no way it can't be. The fouls are not always going to be even. It's like there was one play that was in this game that they called an offensive foul. I thought the guy was moving, and it should have been a block, but they called offensive foul. They've called offensive foul in basically every single, play. So it's been consistent, even though I didn't think that one should be. They're showing again Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Congratulations to the Islanders for, getting their first tournament whenever. That's really cool. They get to play Alabama. That's a really tough game to play. But at least they got their win. And tomorrow you've got Fairleigh Dickinson and Texas Southern and Nevada and Arizona State. 2 high-level games tomorrow. Might stream Nevada, Arizona State tomorrow. I'm not sure. But I might stream that one. Edwards said no refs should just call fouls instead of using their opinion on what is a foul. Yeah, I mean, that's a good statement. I mean, some people, it is their opinion because they, just make, their own judgment call when they should go by the rule book. And if the rule book says, like you say, an elbow, it's an offensive, it has to be consistent. And unfortunately, all the rest aren't, which creates the confusion, the frustration from fans. Easy money said Jerry spot on. They got to make the threes. They're good off the bench as well. Bama's solid, unbeatable when they're hitting the shots. Good D too. For sure. I mean, when they're making threes, they're not beatable at all. I mean, you look at the Texas A&M game. Alabama hit like 10, 11 threes, and they shot like 35 of them. So they didn't really shoot a good percentage, but they hit enough of them that it didn't matter. And they were hitting their free throws. They hit enough of those. And Brandon Miller was Brandon Miller, and Texas A&M had nobody that could stop him. So as long as Brandon Miller's playing well, which he usually does, and they hit more than 7, 8 threes in each game that they play, and they're playing as good a defense as they possibly can, then Alabama will go far. I definitely agree with that. There's definitely been some crazy action today. Again, Texas A&M Corpus Christi got the win. But in the NIT, Rutgers losing to Hofstra in overtime was really interesting because of the fact a lot of people felt Rutgers should have been in the tournament, and they didn't get in. They fell just short, and they were in the NIT, and they just lost on their own floor, 88-86 in overtime to Hofstra. And that might have been an effort problem there. I'm not saying it was, but Rutgers is a great defensive team, and they gave up 88 points to Hofstra. Yes, overtime included, but still. Rutgers did not defend like they normally do. And that's the problem with the NIT for some teams. It's the effort levels why you don't win. If you're giving it your all and you're playing as well as you would in a regular season game or in a tournament game, you can go far in the NIT if you're a team like Rutgers. But they gave up a lot of points in that game. And then you also look at a team like Michigan. They did beat Toledo, but they won 90-80. So, again, not a lot of defense in the NIT game so far. But the Big Ten 1-1 in the NIT. And a lot of people are talking about the Big Ten as well. How far are the Big Ten teams going to go in the NCAA tournament? Because a lot of people diss the Big Ten because of the fact that they're a conference that keeps getting bounced early from the tournament. They get a lot of teams in the field, but then none of them advance far. But I will say, though, that you look at the Big Ten as well, that they don't get really seeded favorably in a lot of times. So that's why they lose early as well. They get so many teams in, but a lot of them are in the low seed ranges, so it's tougher to advance. So that's part of it. Thanks for being here, James Scott. He says, well, if it's a judgment call as to what a foul is, then Florida should get 5 immediate penalties for taking to the court because there isn't nothing more foul than being a Gator. Oh, that's a good one right there. That's funny. Man, that is funny. I mean, I'm sure, a lot of people could do that with a lot of teams they don't like for sure. I would just call a bunch of penalties. That's on the team they don't like. That's funny. Inside the Pylons is back. He says, hey, guys. Definitely some people here. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Easy Money says, I'm hoping to see Sears, Clowney, and Quinterly make their shots to compliment Brandon Miller and Bediako to make the blocks and under the basket rebound scores. Yeah, if Sears, Clowney, and Quinterly are hitting shots, because Javon Quinterly is a really good player, but he did have some struggles this season because he was still recovering off of his injury from last year. But he seemed to start playing better down the stretch of the season. And Mark Sears was a great transfer addition for Nate Oates. And, if they're hitting shots and Brandon Miller's going off and Bediako's, getting rebounds and he's blocking shots, like you say, that makes them almost unstoppable. But if they have a bad game, you never know. Thanks for being here, Will and D. Says, hey, Jeffrey and crew, this is a good game. For sure. This is definitely a good game. The first 4 is often overlooked. I mean, I think a lot of people do watch it, but sometimes people wait for the round of 64, and it's like, don't miss the first 4 of these few games, and even the NIT. There's some good games for sure. Inside the Ponds, he says, I think the Mississippi State USC game on Friday will be one for the ages. Yeah, that definitely could be a good game. I think so. USC is a really good team, even though they're in the Pac-12, and a lot of people don't take the Pac-12 teams very seriously, but they are a good team. They have Boogie Ellis. He's a high-level guard. And I think that Michigan State, even though they're not having one of their better years and they don't have a lot of depth, it's still Tom Izzo. And he still has players that can make shots. So it should be a really good game. Easy Money says, yep, Quinterly is stepping it up lately, for sure. And the higher of a level he plays at, the better chance it gives for Alabama to be, a team that could go far because he is a really key piece to their team. and he's playing better. Will and D says Memphis and FAU will be great too. Yeah, that game is sneakily great right there. Memphis is a team that's playing some of their best basketball of the season. They just beat Houston, even though it was without Marcus Sasser. But that was a great win for Memphis. And then Florida Atlantic. I mean, Florida Atlantic is a team that from Conference USA did not get seeded, in the 12 range. They got seeded as a 9 seed. A lot of people believe in the Owls and felt that they deserved a 9 seed. Even Charleston, who was 31-3 as well, same record as Florida Atlantic, got a 12 seed. So Florida Atlantic played well all year, and that game could be a really good game. It's really cool to see two, smaller conference teams, especially in Florida Atlantic, get to play each other in the first round like that. And inside the palm says the Columbus game, I think Michigan State, USC, and Memphis, FAU are the two games to watch on Friday for sure. And easy money says Memphis is very good. Yeah, Penny Hardaway, it's kind of funny that this team, even though it's really talented, you got Kendrick Davis, who was a great transfer to from SMU. I feel like he maybe has had more talented teams already at Memphis, but this team seems to be playing more together than his other teams. I always felt that was kind of an issue with Penny Hardaway's teams, that they didn't play together. Sometimes they played knee ball, and sometimes they didn't share the basketball at a high level. But this year's team has done a better job of that, even with a guard like Kendrick Davis, who is a very, bucket-getting guard on his own right. But I still think that they're sharing the ball well. Will indeed, he has a, potential upset prediction. He thinks Memphis will upset Purdue. I could see that because Memphis is a team that plays so fast. Purdue's more of a slower team. You have Zach Edey. That is possible. But the second half is starting. Pittsburgh 35-34, and they get the ball first in the second half. They shot the ball really well from three. See if they can continue to shoot that well in the second half. Jamarius Burton, he misses his first shot. Mississippi State with the rebound. DJ Jeffries bringing the ball up the floor. He had a couple threes in the first half. He gets the ball to Tolu Smith. DJ Jeffries had 9 rebounds in that first half. That's crazy. And Mississippi State with a 2 to take the lead, 36-35. You had Shaquille Moore knocking that one down. There's been 10 lead changes. This game's been going back and forth. Neither team's taking the lead. And Nelly Cummings makes it the 11th lead change, 37-36, with a nice pull-up too. In Mississippi State, they missed the shot, but they get the rebound. They pull it back out. Mississippi State for 3. DJ Jeffries did not knock that one down, but Mississippi State with another rebound, but they do call a foul on Pittsburgh. Easy money is absolutely crazy. This game's going back and forth all game. Definitely the type game you want to see in the NCAA tournament. This game's been great. Blake Henson and Tolu Smith both being held to only 5 points, and they both average close to 16 points per game. That goes to show you the physicality that's being done down low. They're not getting easy buckets. It's been more of the guards and the wings that have been scoring in this game. And Mississippi State in the corner, misses a 3. Pittsburgh with the rebound. Mississippi State starting to struggle from outside again. Pittsburgh dribbling at the top of the key. Nelly Cummings with the ball. He's trying to get a ball screen. He gets the ball screen. He's driving in. Pittsburgh kicking out in the corner, running out of time. They drive it in, and they lose the ball, and they call it off of Pittsburgh, so a turnover. They did not have a lot of those in the first, but Pittsburgh does indeed turn the basketball over. Easy Money said, I lost track of the lead changes laughing on. There's been a lot of them. I mean, you could blink, and the score's already changed 3 times. It's crazy. Easy Money said, good D for Mississippi State. It definitely was. Down low. They didn't get a foul. And Mississippi State knocks in a tough 2, the 12th lead change of the game. 38-37 Mississippi State. Game's been going back and forth early in the second half. Nelly Cummings with the ball again at the top of the key. He's driving in. Tries to step back. In the corner, Pittsburgh misses a 3. Mississippi State rebound. So Pittsburgh couldn't respond. Mississippi State's driving in. Ooh, that one, I don't know. He might have flopped a little bit. They could have called an offensive. They didn't. Kick ball on Pitt, though. Easy money said, I think the biggest lead was 3-point by Mississippi State after that 1 point back and forth. It's definitely been a close game. Tolu Smith was looking for a foul. They didn't call it. Pittsburgh driving the ball down the court, and he lays it in, and he was looking for a foul. Everybody's looking for fouls. They're not calling them, but Pittsburgh takes the lead back 39-38, 17 to go in the second. Tolu Smith on the block. He kicks it down low, and Pittsburgh with the steal. Pittsburgh's driving it down the court. And they call an offensive foul. Another offensive foul in this game. He might have been moving, I'm not sure. But they've been consistently calling offensive fouls, though. Oof. I don't know. He was moving a little bit, but they did call an offensive. Oh, as Will says, alley-oop, what a play. Mississippi State 40-39. Easy money said you blink. Mississippi State's got the lead again. This is crazy. You guys might be slightly ahead of me. Because Easy money says Pitt's leading again. Nelly Cummings has the ball with Pitt down 1. And the Easy Money's prediction or accurate statement, Pitt's up again, 41-40. Not a prediction because he's in the future on me. Mississippi State, they knock in a score, 42-41. Deshaun Davis, this game is going back and forth. The lead changes probably up to 15 now. 42-41 Mississippi State. 15:45 to go in the second. Pitt missed. Mississippi State with the rebound. Yeah, Easy Money said I'm watching on cable. Well, yeah, cable's a little bit quicker, for sure. You're good, man. I mean, I'm like doing the live reaction and you're ahead of me. So it's 42-41 Mississippi State with under 16 to go in the second half. A lot of lead changes. It's been a really good start to the second half. Both teams are playing at a high level on offense right now, for sure. Easy Money with the thumbs up. Thank you, man. But yeah, this has been a really, really good game so far. I've definitely enjoyed it. I'm enjoying the high level of play on offense and defense. Easy Mice is just thinking me as an echo play call. Oh, man. I think the biggest thing that's been a shock in this game is the fact that it's not the defense. Both teams, we knew we're coming in, we're good at defense, but it's been at times the high level of offense. Like you would think that, especially for like Mississippi State, a team that does really struggle shooting the ball, that they would not be shooting the ball well in this game, especially because you're in a, high profile tournament game like this. There's a lot of anxiety. And when you're a team that doesn't shoot the ball well, you're going to shoot even worse. But they've actually overperformed. They've done pretty well. Pittsburgh, they've, a better shooting team than Mississippi State, but they're really shooting well. I just think both teams are shooting the ball better than expected, and both teams are, really scrapping hard. And the way, that these teams keep playing back and forth, this game could go down to who has the ball last. I mean, obviously, you never know when these teams could make a run, but so far in the second half, both teams are scoring every time they get the ball. They can't get any separation. It definitely makes for excitement for sure. some of it's still good defense. Because you look at Nelly Cummings' layup. I mean, he had to reverse that thing, and Mississippi State was all over him, but he still scored. So some of it, I mean, it's great plays being made by Pittsburgh and Mississippi State. Really great plays. You still have good defense, but sometimes better offense is better than good defense. I mean, it is what it is for sure. It would probably stink to be a player, that makes a great defensive play and you do everything you can, but the player still scores that you're guarding. I mean, it's one of those, you just got to shrug your shoulder and go to the next play. Easy Money says, one of my favorite plays, Bama doing the alley-oops. It's awesome. Usually Brandon Miller involved. Yeah, for sure. Get some flashy plays. Mississippi State, they're showing in 1996, they advanced to the Final Four as a 5 seed. I bet that was a special year, and they're showing the head coach at the time, Richard Williams, head coach of that team. You never know. Mississippi State can make a run if they can get this win. You never know. Teams have made it to the Final Four from the first 4. It all starts somewhere in the tournament. But Mississippi State with the ball up 1. A little over 15 minutes to go in the second. And they're giving the ball back to Pittsburgh. Chris Jans does not like it. They're calling it an offensive. I don't know. I mean, that's one of those ones where I don't see much of an elbow. But again, they've been calling offensive fouls the whole time, though. But still, that one could have been play on. Pittsburgh with the basketball. Almost a backcourt, but they said it was deflected a little bit. Pittsburgh, 5 seconds on the shot clock. They got to go. And they call a foul on Mississippi State. That's a bailout. Chris Jans is so mad. There's like 1 second on the shot clock and they call a foul. You never want that as a team, to foul with 1 second on the shot clock. Now, granted, he might have been able to lay it in anyway, but still, that hurts. But he does miss the first, so it's not the worst thing for Mississippi State. It was 42-41, Mississippi State, 14:39 left in the second half. Pittsburgh got one more free throw. They're 5-9 in this game from the line. Now they're 6 of 10. So it's 42 all, tie game. Finally, you don't have a lead change, just a tie. It's been 16 lead changes in this game, 7 ties. Both teams led by 6. That's their biggest lead. Almost a turnover. Tolu Smith on the block down low, and he knocks it down. Mississippi State retakes the lead again, 44-42. I think Mississippi State needs to get Tolu Smith more involved. When they get the ball to him down low on the low block, he's really tough to guard because he's so tall. Blake Henson with the long 2, and he knocks it down. Tough shot, 44-44. 13:40 left in the second. Mississippi State looking for Tolu Smith again. He gets the ball, and they call a foul. Easy Money says, yep, that's why they call it March Madness. I completely agree. Those Cinderellas. They definitely make it fun for sure. That's why you got to have them. You can't take them out of March Madness. And he said, no, it stinks. They're about to get a shot clock violation. Instead, you get a foul on your team. Yeah, it's horrible. You play good defense the whole possession, then you get a foul call on you with 1 second left. It's just terrible. It defeats the whole 29 seconds. But Tolu Smith's at the line, and he knocks down the first, so it's 45-44. Mississippi State after that free throw made by Tolu Smith. He's got 8 points. Tolu Smith with another free throw, and he knocks it down. 46-44 Mississippi State, 13:35 left in the second half. Game's going back and forth. Pitt 6 of 10 at the line. Mississippi State's 5 of 7. Both teams have missed some free throws. Almost a turnover. And they do call a foul on Mississippi State. Nelly Cummings was able to survive that one. They almost had a tie up on him or even a turnover. But he got the ball back. He got the contact. He almost lost the ball, but he gets it back. And he shields himself away, and he really sells that foul. So there's 13-16 left in the second half, 46-44, Mississippi State. Pittsburgh inbounding. They're getting it to Blake Henson on the block. Almost a turnover. And they call another foul on Mississippi State. That is not going to make Chris Jans happy. He probably would feel that that's a tie. I mean, he did get some of the ball, but he did reach in a little bit too. That's tough. That's 3 fouls on Deshaun Davis. I mean, again, I could see a top, but he did reach in. So that's tough. So Pittsburgh with the ball, Jamarius Burton to Blake Henson in the corner, and an air ball. Too easy money's point, air ball. That was definitely an air ball. So Mississippi State has the ball. Mississippi State's kicking it around. DJ Jeffries at the top of the key. They get it down low. Mississippi State with a miss. Pittsburgh with the rebound with a chance to tie or take the lead again. And they call an offensive foul on Jamarius Burton. He's not going to like that one, but again, the refs have been calling offensive fouls all night. He drove in the lane. He technically was in front. He used some arm. That's a tough call, but that's the way the refs have been calling it in this one. That's the 4th foul on Jamarius Burton. He has not been able to get any momentum or rhythm in this game because he's been in foul trouble the whole time. That is a tough loss for Pittsburgh. He's a really good player. He's one of their leading scorers. So Mississippi State with the ball. Getting hounded by Pittsburgh on D in the corner. And Mississippi State almost banked in the 3 from the corner. So it's 46-44. Mississippi State with 12:03 to go in the second. Pittsburgh's bringing the ball up the floor. Without Jamarius Burton out there, they're going to have to get some more scoring out of Blake Henson or Nelly Cummings while he's on the bench. Or even Greg Elliott. He hit a couple threes in the first. Greg Elliott drives. And what a block. So 11:42 left in the second. We've got a tight game. We've got a really good game. Easy Money says laughing out loud. I said that 10 minutes before he laughed on. Don't worry. I'm just kidding about the 10 minutes. That's a stretch. Yeah, you're definitely ahead of me for sure. You're definitely a little bit ahead of me. Easy Money says, I've got to go soon. I have 15% battery left, but I'll hang around a few more minutes. You're good, man. Thanks for being here, man. It's been awesome. We got a great game as well, so it makes it even better, but thanks for being here. Vanderbilt beat Yale 71-62 in the NIT, so that's another result that's wrapped up tonight. Vanderbilt's had a really great year with Jerry Stackhouse, even though they didn't make the tournament, but they got really close. And they were able to beat Yale in the first round. So a lot of NIT action as well. A lot of people forget about the NIT. You've got all these tournament games on, but the NIT has some really good action as well. I mean, you've got a lot of teams that some of them are, potential tournament teams if they didn't have some injury, especially like a Villanova team like that. But I mean, there's just a lot of teams that, didn't make the tournament, but they're still playing hard. They're giving everything they've got. Those are definitely games to check out for sure. You do a great show, Joe. Great interaction with your subscribers. That's cool. Thanks, Easy Money. That means a lot. I mean, for sure, having you guys all here makes the experience a lot better watching the game. You guys are awesome. Like I said, it definitely helps when you got a good basketball game for sure. I mean, if it's like 80-30, it's kind of tough, but it's still basketball, it's still fun. But with all you guys here, it makes it so much better. So again, I appreciate it a lot. We're showing Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner. He's probably wanting Pitt to pull out this win to keep an ACC team in the tournament longer, but you've got Pitt at the line. Greg Elliott, he knocks down the first. So it's a 1-point game, 46-45 Mississippi State, 11:42 to go in the second half. Greg Elliott with another free throw to tie the game, and he misses. Another missed free throw for Pittsburgh. That's going to really come back to bite them potentially. You cannot miss free throws. They missed 5 free throws in this game. They're 7-12 at the line. Mississippi State getting the ball down low. What a block. What a block. Pittsburgh starting to ratchet up the defense. Pittsburgh moving it down the floor. Had the guy wide open down low, but they didn't give it to him, and then it almost got turned over. Blake Henson driving. And they call a block. They finally call a block. Blake Henson was driving, and they called a block. That's tough for Mississippi State. Especially considering they've called charges almost the whole entire game. That's tough. Shaquille Moore does not like it. He felt he got bulldozed on that play. Both teams have 5 fouls, though, so that's even. Nelly Cummings inbounding the ball for Pittsburgh, down 1, 11 to go. They can't get the ball in. And you got a 5-second violation. Man, Jeff Capel's going to be upset. A 5-second violation. Easy Money said, how many ACC teams made it? I know Pitt's playing for a spot. Miami, NC State. Who else? You have Virginia, Duke. That's a really great question. I think there's those 3, like you said, and you got Virginia and Duke. That's 5. I think there's another one, but I can't remember. That's a great question. It's at least 5. Virginia Tech did not make the tournament. They missed it. Carolina didn't make it. So it's definitely 5. Clemson didn't make it. Easy Money says, oh, Duke, of course. And yeah, Virginia for sure. Duke and Virginia were definitely some of the better teams in the ACC this year, even though Virginia's offense fell asleep. Mississippi State missed a shot. Pitt still down 1, 48-47. 10 to go. Easy Money says, Clemson 9, are they okay? Yeah, I mean, they're a decent team, but they fell short because they lost to Louisville. Unfortunately, they lost to Loyola Chicago, and they lost to South Carolina. They had some bad losses, but Clemson was a pretty good team this year, but they just suffered way too many bad losses to get in, unfortunately for them. I think if Clemson didn't suffer the bad losses, I think that they get in the tournament. I really do, because they had some good wins. And they didn't have a lot of losses, but they had too many bad losses. Because NC State, they lost to Clemson 3 times this season, but still NC State got in because they didn't have as many bad losses as Clemson did. This game has a lot of physicality in it. Both teams playing hard. The offense is starting to slow down a little bit, but it's 48-47 Mississippi State. 9:39 to go in the second half. Mississippi State has not turned the ball over as much in the second half as they did in the first. Trying to get it to Tolu Smith on the block. They kick it back out. Mississippi State driving in, and they knock it down 50-47. So Pittsburgh just hit a ridiculous layup, 50-49. And Nelly Cummings is hurt. That's not a good sign. Oops, I left out the comment. Okay, you answered Clemson. Oh, you're good. Easy money. I probably read it wrong for sure. But yeah, you're good. Yeah, Clemson, they just did not make it. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But for them, because a lot of people thought they should have got in, but they just did not get in. But Mississippi State only up 1 point. This game's going back and forth. Definitely getting into crunch time. I mean, there's only 9 minutes to go left in this game. A little over 9 minutes. So we're getting to that point where every possession matters. Can't have turnovers. A team that takes care of the ball down the stretch, fewer turnovers. Team that hits more of their free throws is definitely going to be the team that pulls out this win. But it's been a great game. So if that's any indication, the last 9 minutes should be awesome as well. Jeff Capel and Chris Jans both have done a great job with their respective teams this year of getting to play high-level basketball. And they definitely have in this game as well. They've been a little sloppy, especially Mississippi State in the first half, but they're starting to clean that up. Easy Money says, all right, Jeffrey, man, great show, great game. I got to take care later, man. Sounds good, Easy Money. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you back soon, man. Can't wait to find the results of this game as well. It's definitely getting, to the really important part of the game when every possession's magnified, when what you do could be the difference in whether you win or lose the game. It's definitely going to be really interesting. And Liberty beat Villanova in the NIT 62-57. Goodbye, Easy Money. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a good rest of your day, man. So we got Liberty beating Villanova. That's crazy. Darius McGee, he had 26 points for Liberty. Brandon Slater at 18 for Villanova. But Villanova goes down in the NIT. That's really tough. They're a good team. They started to play better down the stretch of the season. They got matched up with a tough Liberty team. That's definitely a tough loss to suffer in the first round. So Villanova ends their season at 17-17, I think. Some crazy NIT action going on. And you've got this great first four matchup between Pittsburgh and Mississippi State. It's going to go down the wire, it seems. 50-49 Mississippi State. Mississippi State has 24 points in the paint. Pittsburgh only has 10. That's crazy, too. And Pittsburgh only has 10 points in the paint. You think they'd have a lot more considering the fact that they are a team that does at times struggle to shoot from the outside. They can get some buckets inside with Blake Henson. But they're getting a lot of their points on the outside. And Mississippi State turns the basketball over 50-49. Mississippi State. Pittsburgh with the ball back, 8:47 to go in the second half. This is a big possession for Pittsburgh. Nelly Cummings, who was shaken up, he's back in the game. He takes the tough two, and he does not knock it down. Mississippi State basketball, they're bringing it up the floor. Mississippi State with the turnaround jumper. They miss as well. And they call it off of Mississippi State. Pittsburgh basketball again. The offense is going cold a little bit. So 50-49, Mississippi State, 8:15 to go in the second, in Pittsburgh basketball. Pittsburgh's only 6 of 12 from the field in the second half. That's crazy. They've only taken 12 shots in 12 minutes. Definitely shows the teams are taking a lot of their possessions, a lot of the shot clock off their possession. They're not shooting the ball quick. They're being really methodical. Nelly Cummings with the ball at the top of the key, and he almost turns it over, but he goes off of Mississippi State. 5 seconds left on the shot clock, 7:54 left in the game. And it's still 50-49. So both teams have been held scoreless the last couple minutes. It should be a fantastic finish, but it looks like it's going to be a defensive-minded game in the second half. It seemed like there was a lot more offense in the first half, but it seems it's starting to slow down. Sloppy plays taking over a little bit. Both teams are starting to turn the ball over. Both teams are starting to get a little anxious as the game gets closer to the end, especially because it's a close game. But again, whoever takes care of the ball more, whoever can hit their shots and hit some free throws has a really good chance to win. I think that Mississippi State's done a better job of taking care of the ball in the second because they were really sloppy in the first, but they have turned it over a couple times the last couple minutes. In Pittsburgh, they've been turning it over a little bit as well. They've had a few more turnovers in the second than they've had in the first. And both teams have kind of struggled a bit at the free throw line. But it's really going to be interesting to see what happens down the stretch, though. I'm looking forward to the end of this game. It should go down to the wire unless a team makes a run late, but neither team's been able to get separation. So if that stays the same, this should be a great finish. I think it's so cool to see Jay Wright on CBS, and True TV and all that doing these games. I mean, he was such a great legendary head coach, and just to see him on the sideline talking about basketball is really cool. I think he does a really good job. It's just cool to see him because, a lot of people, once they're done coaching, you don't get to hear or, see him anymore, but you still get to see Jay Wright. So it's like he hasn't left basketball, even though he's not coaching anymore. So that's really cool. But for both these head coaches, for both these teams, this would be a huge win for Jeff Capel or Chris Jans. Either coach could really use this win, but I do think Jeff Capel does need it more because of the fact he has been at Pittsburgh for a few seasons. And to get a tournament win like this would be huge for his job security. Him making the tournament in general is going to be huge for him at Pittsburgh, but if he can somehow be able to get this win, that would, magnify, the great job he's done this season and probably help his chances in the future of keeping his job. And for Chris Jans, he is in his first year as the head coach in Mississippi State, and he did take New Mexico State to the tournament last year, so he's okay. He's in great shape right now with the Bulldogs, but it'd still be a big win for him to get things going early on in his tenure, to be able to build on that for next season and maybe do some more special things next year, maybe even go further in the tournament. But I think Jeff Capel really needs this win. Pittsburgh taking a tough shot at the end of the shot clock, and he misses, and Pittsburgh taps it out off them. So it's Mississippi State basketball. 7:49 to go in the second half. Mississippi State bringing the ball up the floor. Both teams playing methodically on offense right now, both not scoring really quickly. But Mississippi State trying to change that, but they do miss, and Blake Henson with the rebound. Pittsburgh streaking down the floor, and they lay it in. Pittsburgh retakes the lead, 51-50. That was a big layup. Mississippi State faking a three, and they shoot the three, and they miss. Tolu Smith with the rebound, though, but he don't get it either. Oh, he was so close to being out of bounds, but they didn't call it out of bounds. It was so close. Looked like his tippy toe might have been on the line, but they give the ball to Pittsburgh, and they're going down the floor up 1, under 7 to go. Blake Henson with a tough 2. He misses. And Mississippi State gets the rebound. They could have called a foul on Pitt maybe, but they didn't. Mississippi State driving. Both teams are scrapping for the ball right now. Not a lot of fouls being called. They're letting them play. Mississippi State misses. They get the ball back. Mississippi State with a floater, and they knock it down. 52-51 Mississippi State. Big shot for Mississippi State. Shaquille Moore's up to 14 points. He's 5 of 10 from the field. He's had a pretty solid game. But Mississippi State has 13 offensive rebounds. That is huge. Pittsburgh with the 2, and they miss. Mississippi State with the board. 52-51 Mississippi State, 6 to go in the second. And they called the ball off Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was hounding Mississippi State out around the half-court line. But they do call it off of Pittsburgh. So it's Mississippi State basketball still. They're up 1. 52-51 Mississippi State, under 6 to go. It's definitely getting to crunch time now. Both teams have to value the basketball. Turnover for Mississippi State. Pittsburgh ball. Pittsburgh misses. Jamarius Burton, who's back in the game with 4 fouls. He gets fouled. But the foul was on the floor, so no free throws. 6 fouls on Mississippi State, so 1 more foul, and they're in the bonus. Ellie Cummings tried to do a ridiculous layup, but he didn't get it. But Jamarius Burton with the board. Jamarius Burton's not been able to get in the flow of this game because he's had foul trouble all game. He had 4 fouls way early in the second half. But he's back in now, so maybe for Pittsburgh, he can get some things going at the end of this game with 5:29 to go. But they call another foul on Mississippi State. And Pittsburgh's going to be going to the line this time because of the fact now it's the bonus. So it's going to be a 1-and-1 for Pittsburgh. They did foul. Greg Elliott sold it well, but they did foul. So Pittsburgh, Greg Elliott, with 2 free throws, potentially retake the lead. He's got a 1-and-1, and he knocks down the first. Big free throw for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has struggled at the line in this game, but that was a big free throw for Greg Elliott. He's got another one to take the lead. He knocks it down. Pittsburgh is now up 1, 53-52. Mississippi State with the ball. Splits the double team. Mississippi State misses. Pittsburgh with the rebound. And they call another foul on Mississippi State on the rebound attempt. The fouls are starting to ratchet up for Mississippi State. And Mississippi State cannot get stuff to fall. It was a good floater, but it just did not go in. And Pittsburgh is really selling fouls right now. They're doing a good job of selling fouls. And Pittsburgh is a 70% free throw shooter at the line right now with a 1-and-1. A chance to go up 3 with 5:14 to go in the second half. But he misses the first. Mississippi State with the rebound. Still a 1-point game, 53-52. 5 to go in the second half. Mississippi State with the ball. Shaquille Moore thought about the 3, but he did not take it. Tolu Smith wants it on the block. Tolu Smith sets a ball screen. Shaquille Moore trying to drive. He loses it off Pittsburgh's foot. So it's going back to Mississippi State with 8 seconds left on the shot clock. He got lucky there. It almost was a disastrous play. There's only 6 seconds on the shot clock. Shaquille Moore's got to make a play. He splits the double team, and he turns it over trying to pass it back outside. He probably should have taken the shot. Pittsburgh ball, 53-52, 4:30 left in the second half. Every possession is going to matter a lot now. We're getting down to the end of the game. Pittsburgh for 3, and they miss. So now it's Mississippi State ball again. Timeout, Mississippi State. Chris Jans wants to talk to his team, try to set up a play to potentially take the lead back. But this game's going down the wire for sure. Mississippi State's led most of the second half. But Pittsburgh's retaking the lead. But this game's been going back and forth all game. There's been almost 20 lead changes in this game. Neither team's been able to get a lot of separation. There's only been a 6-point lead at the max for both teams. It's been a really close game. It's been a low-scoring game. I thought it might be a lower-scoring game because of the fact that you have two teams that are really physical and that are really good at defense. And they aren't the best shooting teams in the world. When you're in a big game like this in the NCAA tournament and you're not the greatest shooting team, and sometimes you struggle even more shooting the basketball. Both teams were starting out shooting really well, but they've definitely cooled off in the second half. The defense has ratcheted up. But it's still been a high-level game. Even though the scoring isn't super high, it's still a high-level game. And it looks like it's going to be a fantastic finish for sure. This game has definitely lived up to the billing. They got Coach K in a commercial. It's the Aflac. I wonder what the strategy is going to be for these two teams, though, in the last 4 minutes of the second half, because there's been a lot of three-point shots taken. And Jeff Capel, he was not mad with that one guy shooting that three for Pittsburgh. But that's a play, even though you're open. If you try to get the ball inside, maybe you get fouled. Maybe you get an easier 2 than shooting the 3. Sometimes you're left wide open to hit that 3 late in the game, but it's so tough to hit a shot like that at this point in the game. So sometimes it's wise to drive inside, try to get fouled. Even though it is tough to make free throws late in games as well because of the fact you're at the line, there's not a lot of time left, and you have to make these shots. But still overall, it's just one of those things where it's like you got to make that split-second decision. If you hit the 3, then it's a great shot. But if you don't, then it's tough. They're showing Chris Jan's family in the crowd. They're definitely hoping Mississippi State can get this win and move on in the NCAA tournament. The winner plays Iowa State. But this has been a great game, very defensive-minded. And I'm sure either team, whoever wins, will definitely give Iowa State a tough game for sure. So Mississippi State to inbound the basketball, 4:20 to go in the second half. Mississippi State's down 1. It's 53-52. And Mississippi State turns the basketball over. They tried to do a backs cut on a screen, but it did not work because they overthrew the pass. That's the tough thing about trying to play like that. It would have worked, but the pass was just a little high. So Pittsburgh's inbounding the ball. They're up 1. 4:10 to go in the second half. Mississippi State has 14 turnovers. That could be a stat that's too much to overcome if they do lose this game. Mississippi State has a lot more turnovers than Pittsburgh. Nelly Cummins is driving it in. He kicks it out to Jamarius Burton. Over to Greg Elliott. He takes the 2, and Greg Elliott knocks down the 2. It's 55-52 Pittsburgh. The Panthers are up 3. 3:40 to go in the second. Tolu Smith with the ball at the top of the key. Mississippi State kicks it back to Tolu Smith on the left block. He kicks it out. Mississippi State shoots a 3, and they miss. But Mississippi State with the rebound, and they miss again. And Pittsburgh with the rebound. 55-52 Panthers. 3:20 to go in the second. Two huge misses for Mississippi State. They had some pretty good looks too. But again, taking tough shots and not able to make them. Nelly Cummings kicks it to Blake Henson. He shoots a three, and he knocks it down. Blake Henson hit a 35-foot three. I just cannot believe he hit that shot. That is crazy. I thought that was a bad shot. He still had 15 seconds left on the shot clock, and Blake Henson pulls up from 35 feet, and he knocks in the tough three. It was contested as well. 58-52 Pittsburgh. That might be the dagger. There's still plenty of time left. Mississippi State can come back, but if Pittsburgh does win, that might be the dagger shot. That was a tough shot that Blake Henson just made. What a shot. That was incredible. Again, that was one of those shots where if you take it and miss, it's a bad shot. But if you hit it, I mean, wow, that is incredible. He shot that almost from the March Madness logo. That is insane. I mean, first you had Greg Elliott with the tough two. And then Mississippi State misses two really good looks on the other end. And then Blake Henson basically from the logo knocks in a 35-foot three. A Steph Curry range. What a shot by Blake Henson. So now it's 58-52. Pittsburgh, 3 to go in the second half. Does Mississippi State have one last run in them? Pittsburgh's on a 7-0 run in the last 2.5 minutes. And Mississippi State misses a layup. Pittsburgh with the rebound. Tolu Smith missed a 1-foot shot, but he was under the rim in a tough position. But Pittsburgh with the rebound. It's not looking good for Mississippi State. If Pittsburgh takes care of the ball and hits free throws, they can win this game and they'll face Iowa State. But there's still enough time for Mississippi State. But Pittsburgh with the ball, 2:30 to go. In the corner, Greg Elliott fakes the three. He kicks it out. Greg Elliott in the corner, and Pittsburgh misses, but he gets the offensive rebound. More time's going off the clock. There's only 2:20 left in the game. And Pittsburgh's eating clock. Nelly Cummins is listening to Jeff Capel on the sideline telling him to play. Nelly Cummins pulls up from three, and he misses as well. What a break for Mississippi State. Pittsburgh had 2 looks from 3, and they don't knock it down. So there's still a little bit of life left for Mississippi State. They're down 6 with 2 to go. Mississippi State has not scored a point in 4.5 minutes. That might come back to haunt. They have not scored in almost 5 minutes of action, but they finally do score. A breakdown on defense for Pittsburgh. Cuts the game to 4. Still time left for Mississippi State, but Pittsburgh with the basketball, 58-54, 1:40 to go in the second half. Mississippi State trying to trap. Pittsburgh gets out of it. Now, Jamarius Burton with the basketball. He swings to Greg Elliott in the corner, and he misses. But Pittsburgh taps it out, but it goes to Mississippi State. They're driving. And Mississippi State misses a layup, but it's off Pittsburgh. Mississippi State's going to get the ball back, but they're going to review it, though. He had the layup, but that was a really tough layup to make. But still, Mississippi State could have cut that lead to 2. But it looks like it's off Pittsburgh, and it is. Quick review, they give it to Mississippi State. Mississippi State almost lost their footing, but they got it out. Mississippi State in the corner for 3. And they knock it down. Mississippi State's cut it to 1. 58-57, they're right back in it. When Blake Henson hit that 3, it looked like maybe Pittsburgh was in the driver's seat, but Mississippi State said, we're not done yet. We're coming back. Timeout Pittsburgh. This game is not over yet by a long shot. Blake Henson's shot is not the dagger shot just yet. Mississippi State has cut this lead down to 1. A little over a minute left. We got a fantastic finish on our hands here. This has been a really high-level first 4 game. You cannot ask for much more in the beginning of March Madness. You think you're waiting for some of the big games, to happen on Thursday and Friday, but this game, has definitely kicked off March Madness in a good way for sure. And even the Texas A&M Corpus Christi game, and even some of the NIT games. Been some great games. So it's 58-57 Pittsburgh over Mississippi State with 1 minute to go. Exactly 60 seconds. Pittsburgh basketball, and they're going to be inbounding the ball. They inbound it to Nellie Cummings. It's probably going to be about 2 or 3 more possessions in this game in regulation. Pittsburgh with the basketball. Blake Henson at the top of the key. Kicks it back to Nellie Cummings. Nellie Cummings is driving. He shoots a mid-range shot, and it goes in and out. And Mississippi State with the rebound. Nellie Cummings had the shot, but it went in and out. Mississippi State driving the ball. And Tolu Smith for 2, a player for Pittsburgh, fell. A breakdown on defense. And Mississippi State is retaking the lead, 59-58. They've definitely erased Blake Henson's shot. That looked like it could have been all she wrote for Mississippi State. The Bulldogs have gone on a 7-0 run. Pittsburgh has to respond. Jamarius Burton for 2. He knocks it down. 60-59 Pittsburgh, 9.8 seconds to go. What a shot by Jamarius Burton. He's been cold all game long. He's been on the bench in foul trouble, and he hits one of the biggest shots of his life. What a shot. A step back 2 in the mid-range. That was a big shot. So it's 60-59 Pittsburgh with 9.8 seconds left. This has been an absolutely phenomenal game. Both teams are playing so hard on both sides of the ball. Both teams have had their ups and downs. Been some sloppy play on both sides of the ball from both teams. But, man, we got a great finish on our hands here. 60-59. Pittsburgh over Mississippi State in the first 4. Winner to take on Iowa State. And Jamarius Burton just hit a big shot after Tolu Smith took the lead for Mississippi State on a layup. Jamarius Burton drives in, takes some contact, steps back, and knocks down a tough 2. And Pittsburgh is up by 1 point with 9.8 seconds. Everybody's on their feet in Dayton. And Mississippi State has the basketball. They're going to be inbounding it after the timeout. Mississippi State has the possession arrow as well if somehow a tie-up happens. Mississippi State's going to have to inbound the ball with 10 seconds left in this game and find a way to win. There's 21 lead changes tonight in this game, which is the most in any NCAA tournament game since 2018. That goes to show you how good and contested this game has been. 21 lead changes. And Mississippi State is going to be inbounding the basketball. Mississippi State inbounds the ball. 9 seconds. 6 seconds. Mississippi State for 3. And they call a foul before the shot. No shot. Pittsburgh had a foul to give. Probably a smart play by Jeff Capel. Thanks for being here, Jackson Johnson. He says, wow, 21 lead changes. That's big. I agree for sure. This game's been incredible. Back and forth all game long. Mississippi State inbounds the ball. Tolu Smith driving in for Mississippi State. And what a block. Pittsburgh with the big block. Still 60-59. 2.7 left in the game. 2.7 seconds. This game has been crazy. Another timeout. Tolu Smith was trying to drive in, and Pittsburgh blocked the ball. Clean block. Just under 3 seconds left in this game. That block could have saved the day. If Tolu Smith's able to get that shot off, it could have gone in. It might not have. We'll never know. But what a block. That was a massive block. So now Mississippi State's going to have one more chance to score. There's 2.7 seconds left in this game. You're going to get one more crack at it. Everybody's on their feet. The coaches, The players are all hyped up. They're amped up. 60-59. Mississippi State to inbound with 2.7 seconds. They inbound the ball in the corner for three. Mississippi State misses the three. Had a great look. Shaquille Moore had a great look. Wide open in the corner, and he does not knock it down. Mississippi State falls. Pittsburgh survives 60-59 in a thriller game. In the first four, Pittsburgh will now face Iowa State in the round of 64 on Friday afternoon. What a game. Mississippi State had a great look in the corner. Shaquille Moore, he almost hit the three, but it hit the front rim. And Pittsburgh survives. 60-59. 21 lead changes in this game. This game went back and forth all game long, and you couldn't have a better look for Mississippi State. A wide open three. It's just a little long. Could not knock it down. Hit the rim. But this was a fantastic game. And if this game is any indication of what 2023 March Madness is going to be like in the NCAA tournament, then it should be a fantastic tournament, because this game right here was awesome. Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Southeast Missouri State was a good game to open, but Pittsburgh, Mississippi State lived up to the billing. This was a fantastic game. And Mississippi State, unfortunately, on the wrong end of it. And Pittsburgh got the win. Interviewing Jeff Capel, this is a huge win for him and his job security. Pittsburgh, their first NCAA tournament win since 2016. First win for Jeff Capel in the NCAA tournament as the Pittsburgh head coach. A huge win. Big shot by Jamarius Burton to get the win for Pittsburgh. And the Pittsburgh Panthers win 60-59 and a fantastic game in the first four. One of the first games of March Madness. And now Pittsburgh will take on Iowa State on Friday afternoon, but a huge win for Pittsburgh, 60-59 over Mississippi State. Jeff Capel in tears. Pittsburgh deserved the win. Mississippi State deserved to win as well. They just came up on the wrong end of it. But a huge game. Fantastic game to watch, and Pittsburgh pulls it out 60-59. But thank you guys for being here. Everybody that was watching this live stream, thank you so much. Subscribe if you're new. Like the stream down below. And again, we'll be doing a lot more live streams in the future because of March Madness. Hopefully you guys will, be here to watch all those as well. But thank you guys so much for being here. This was a great game. Pittsburgh wins 60-59. But I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for being here, everybody. In March Madness, it looks like it's going to be a great one. See you, everybody. Thanks for being here.